Chapter 1200. Ojima lowered his head, his eyes cold. His voice became gentler. Wei Bai, you took my first time, and you dare not want me. I'm going to report you for rape and ruin your reputation. Wei Bai, no, what did she want to say? She had never seen someone who could accuse others in such a matter-of-fact manner. Wei Bai wanted to quickly take out her notebook and write it down as material so that she could use it for herself next time. This was no longer a matter of how thick his skin was, but of different dimensions. Ojima looked down and saw that she was in a daze, as if she really couldn't remember what happened last night. He felt even more at ease and made up a story. I struggled very hard, but you were too strong when you were drunk. I desperately begged you to let me go, but you were a beast that stole my first time. If not for Wei Bai's memory of last night, she would have been fooled by this shameless person. But she thought that if she exposed him, she would lose all the goodwill points she gained from selling her body. She endured it and calmly listened to him describe how she had repeatedly forced herself on him last night. Ojima saw the shocked expression on her face. He knew that she really didn't know. He couldn't help but smile. Then his expression turned cold. I've kept my virginity for so many years to save it for my future wife. Now tell me what to do. Wei Bai sulked for a while before gritting her teeth and saying, It was my first time too. System, how can the host say that? These two bastards are lying right in front of each other. Aren't they afraid of being struck by lightning? Ojima thought about how she had cried out in pain last night. His face couldn't help but turn red, and his eyes burned. He controlled the impulse in his body and said expressionlessly, So what? You were the one who initiated it, so I won't compensate for your first time. Wei Bai, then. I'll compensate you. Ojima's face darkened, as if he had eaten shit. Was he a male host? She actually wanted to use money to buy him? Ojima looked at her from head to toe and sneered. Money? Do you think I can buy my first time with money? Wei Bai seemed to feel that this topic was getting out of hand. Her cheeks were flushed red, and the redness spread across her skin, giving her a delicate and beautiful appearance. Ojima narrowed his eyes. He suddenly lowered his head and reached out to touch her face gently. He took in her bewilderment. She could no longer treat him with such a cold and indifferent attitude. Ojima had no regrets at all. Last night, he had taken advantage of the situation and given away his first time. Because Wei Bai could no longer expressionlessly say that she had nothing to do with him. It didn't matter. He had forcefully created a connection. His voice was low and seductive. I'm not asking you to compensate me. I'm a kind person. I'll forget about you forcing yourself on me. You just need to be my girlfriend. Just as he was about to say those words, a voice rang out. The doorbell rang. It was sharp and continuous. It was obvious that it was the person who rang the doorbell. He pressed it firmly. Ojima's expression became unhappy. He let go of Wei Bai, walked barefooted to the door, and opened it. Indeed, he saw Jiang Ro standing outside. Jiang Ro was wearing a beautiful dress. It was obvious that she had put in a lot of effort into dressing up. When she saw Ojima, she immediately put on a fawning smile. Brother. Ojima was expressionless. He took out his cell phone from his pocket and started to call the security guard. Download the at https://m Sashu. Comsave button at the bottom to record this chapter. Chapter 1201. Jiang Ro panicked when she saw him like this. She wanted to snatch his phone away. Ojima looked at her indifferently and coldly, which made her not dare to move. Jiang Ro's face turned pale as she remembered her motive. I'm not going in, brother. I haven't seen you in a long time. I don't know how you're doing. I heard that you told the nanny not to come. How can that do? You can't even take care of yourself. She smiled gently and continued. I made some chicken soup for you and sent it over early. I'm worried that you won't eat and will hurt your stomach. If it weren't for those filthy things and the magical experience of him turning into a cat, he would have been fine. Jiang Ro's performance was really remarkable. He might have been touched by her thoughtfulness. After all, people were naturally not guarded against their loved ones. Moreover, Jiang Ro deliberately got close to him, and he was accidentally fooled. Ojima thought about the past, and his gaze turned even colder. His voice was low and emotionless. "Oh, you'll be banned no matter what you do." Jiang Ro froze for a moment before she forced a smile. "Brother, it's fine if I don't enter the entertainment industry. I entered the industry because of you. If you don't let me in, I'll give up." She played the sympathy card. She wanted to win Jinma's gentleness. Jiang Ro was very familiar with this tactic. Unfortunately, when Jinma saw her face, he thought of the time when he was a cat and was almost drowned by her in the water. The gentler and more considerate she was, the more he felt that this woman was hypocritical. Jinma was extremely calm. "Oh, since you're so kind, I'll give you a raise for your living expenses." Jiang Ro thought that her trick of hurting herself had finally won his favor. She immediately said pretentiously, "It's okay. Brother, didn't you say that you want me to be self-reliant? I'll listen to you." Jinma, really? Then I wish you happiness in your self-reliance. I won't give you the rest of your living expenses. After all, you're already self-reliant. You won't be interested in my 2,000 yuan a month, right? Greed was clearly showing in his eyes. His words were so beautiful. She was really a whore, yet she still wanted to build a monument to her chastity. Jinma felt a strong sense of disgust. She regretted that she had been so blind in the past to think that someone like Jiang Ro was actually his younger sister. Perhaps it was genetic. Her mother was not a good person. Their father was not a good person either. Therefore, with Jiang Ro's personality, she didn't seem to be surprised. Even he was not a holy father angel. Don't expect his family to do well. At present, the only one who could make him feel particularly good was Bai Weiwei. She was truly self-reliant and did not want to fall into any mud. In fact, she was no longer moved by him. But so what? With his outstanding acting skills and extraordinary performance, it was impossible for him to win. She was finally with him. Jinma traditionally believed that two people had to be together once they went to bed. He was such a responsible and good man. Jiang Ro's expression changed. "Brother, don't tell me you don't care about our sibling relationship at all? Even if I did something wrong, it was because I was young and ignorant. Can't you forgive me?" As expected, she turned hostile after taking back 2,000 yuan. Jinma suddenly felt that the woman in the room behind him couldn't be any better. It was all because of the comparison. Ding! The male lead's favorability has increased to 70. Weiwei Bai was in the room. Jinma stood in front of the door, his body completely blocking the room. Weiwei Bai and Jiang Ro had never seen each other before. Is at https://www.sashu.com// Chapter 1202. Jinma simply didn't want others to see how sexy Weiwei Bai looked in his clothes. "All right, whether you're right or wrong has nothing to do with me. You're an adult, and you should be supporting yourself. Why are you hanging around me like a leech?" Jinma sneered as he said this. "The only person I can support legally is my woman." And his sister, a sister without feelings, was nothing to him. With that said, Jinma wanted to close the door. Jiang Ro saw how ruthless he was and knew that he really didn't care about their sibling relationship. She had bitterly guarded their sibling relationship because Jinma would dote on his sister. But now, he didn't like his sister at all. Jiang Ro didn't retreat. She nervously took deep breaths. Jinma wasn't in the mood to pay attention to her. He seemed to have heard the sound of Weiwei by walking away and instinctively turn around to look at her. But he saw that she had only gone to the kitchen to pour a cup of cold water. His gaze softened when he saw her slender and exquisite figure. His empty house. Finally, there was someone he could share with willingly. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong. A gust of wind that made him want to vomit rushed towards him. His good exercise habits saved him. Almost instantly, he jumped away. Jiang Ro fell to the ground and hugged his calf with both hands. Jinma reflexively lifted his leg and kicked her out. Weiwei Bai had just taken a sip of water when she saw this shocking scene. Jiang Ro rolled out of the door like a ball. Jinma's face was gloomy. He didn't give Jiang Ro any chance to speak and slammed the door. Jiang Ro said, "Brother, I like you." She liked a man, not a brother. Before he could say anything, he was kicked out of the door by Jinma. Just as she was about to leave, she saw a familiar figure in Ojinma's room. Jiang Ro's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. It was actually Wei Wei Bai. Wei Wei Bai was actually dating Ojinma. She had tried her best to stay by Ojinma's side for so many years, but she never had the chance to spend the night in his house. However, Wei Wei Bai was wearing his clothes and sitting in his room naturally. She acted like the mistress of the house. Jiang Ro staggered to her feet and saw that the chicken soup she had boiled had spilled all over the floor. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore and revealed her ferocious side. Wei Wei Bai, just you wait. Ojima was hers. If he doesn't like her as a sister, then she would be his woman. They were a match made in heaven. No woman had ever stayed by Ojinma's side for so many years. Only her. Right now, Ojima only had a momentary misunderstanding of her. As long as she could make him believe that she was still the gentle and pure Jiang Ro, he would still come back to her side. Ojima closed the door. He was in a bad mood. He had been so happy early in the morning, but Jiang Ro had ruined his mood. Ojima was full of grievances. He turned around and was about to complain to Wei Wei Bai, but he saw that she was seriously rolling up his trousers. She had tied her white blouse in a knot around her waist. The loose shirt was cinched around her waist, and the black trousers were rolled up. She looked unusually fresh and cute, even dashing. She didn't seem to notice Ojinma's grievances. Instead, she quietly looked up at the door. Wei Wei Bai finally said, "Ojinma, I'm going back." Ojinma took a deep breath and blinked. He didn't even hide the grievance in his eyes. Chapter 1203. When Wei Wei Bai confirmed her relationship with Ojinma. The internet was in an uproar. It had been going on all along, but this time, it was a collective uproar, so the effects were continuous. The reason was that Wei Wei Bai's fans started to show off. Our sister Wei is so beautiful in the second round. She's not nervous at all. It's just one person with a guitar, but the stage effects are so good. The song is so good. I Love You has maintained a super high standard of composition. Oh mom, look at Ojinma's eyes. You can see his desire through his sunglasses. Ha ha ha. He even asked to sing a duet with Sister Wei. Sister Wei doesn't care about him at all. Long live Sister Wei. Our dog beating group will always protect you. Wei Wei Bai's writing style and Ojinma's were polar opposites. Therefore, their fan groups did not overlap much. As a result, the fans who liked to listen to Wei Wei Bai's songs did not listen to Ojinma's songs. Ojinma's angel group had some fans who listened to Wei Wei Bai's songs. But unlike the dog beating group, they did not have a fanatical following for Wei Wei Bai. So when the two sides fought, they did not hold back at all. Because Wei Wei Bai had always been the victim of the angel group's online violence. Before she became popular, she did not have many fans and could not resist such a huge attack. But Good Song, the most watched program in the country, was broadcasted. But by Wei Wei was a well-deserved dark horse with a good song. Every song was so popular that it was frightening. That confession became the hottest new song of the year. Before Ojinma's new album was released, her song had simply put all the new songs on the internet to death by 1,000 cuts. The number of downloads, views, and spread started to explode. In the age of the internet, popularity was often something that happened overnight. Anyway, Wei Wei Bai's fans increased by a few million. In addition, because of the Angels' attack, Wei Wei Bai attracted a lot of attention. Wei Wei Bai had always been on the hot search list. The number of fans kept on increasing. After all, black and red were still red. As long as there was a topic, there would be traffic. This was an era where traffic was king. The day that Ojinma announced that he was in a relationship was the day that the dog beating group was formed. Because that was the day that Wei Wei Bai had rejected Ojinma. Then Ojinma didn't give up. He desperately tried to hook up with Bai Wei Wei, using an awkward way that made people unable to bear to look at him. He desperately tried to stick to Bai Wei Wei. This made the dog beating group the only fan group that could go against the Angels and completely crush them. My MOMO is number 1 in Asia and number 2 in the world. Your MOMO is a lick. Dog. The Angels knelt in unison. If you kneel for too long, you'll also rebel. Especially after the second round of live broadcasts of good songs. Bai Wei Wei's dazzling and blinding results, and her straightforward promotion method. Ojima could not bear to look at his goddess. The angels knelt until their knees were crushed. They knew that it was useless to shout on Weibo and ask Ojima not to lick. They had to do something substantial to embarrass Wei Wei Bai. They had to make Ojima dislike Wei Wei Bai. Otherwise, they would become a bootlicker group for the rest of their lives and be tortured by the dog-beating group. Spontaneously, the angels formed a group to collect Wei Wei Bai's dirt. Wei Wei Bai was not in the industry. Damn it, there was no dirt on her. They dug up the plagiarism incident. However, Jiang Ro revealed that she stole Wei Wei Bai's confession song. This made them not dare to stand on the same side. Chapter 1204. In addition, the gurus on the internet had dug out the two songs Tender Love and Confession for analysis. They had always thought that the melody and style of these two songs were good. They were of the same origin. Jiang Ro's theft had been exposed, although the truth about the plagiarism of Tender Love had not been revealed yet. But the bootlickers, angels, still had a tacit understanding not to criticize Wei Wei Bai. Wei Wei Bai used the strength of her songs to slap faces. Every song she participated in was better than Tender Love. They could not criticize her. So the angels had no choice but to look through Wei Wei Bai's Weibo, because they still remembered that Wei Wei Bai had shamelessly tried to blackmail Ojinma and said that she was dating Ojinma. This was something that they had criticized before and did not have a deep impression of. Now, to fight to the death with the dog-beating group, they could only be thick-skinned and dig up old scores. Scandals were not afraid of being old. It was fine as long as it was useful. Then the bootlickers, angels, finally found the Weibo post that Wei Wei Bai used to say that she was dating Ojinma. The strange thing was that this Weibo post was clearly the most badly scolded, but it was not deleted and was still hanging in the air. The angels immediately took it out. Your Wei Wei is shameless. Didn't you see that she used a post that she was dating MOMO? Blackmail, delusional, liar. The dog-beating group also saw this Weibo post. They immediately retaliated. Didn't it all come true? Your Ojinma can't wait to date her now. We don't care. The angels, look, Wei Wei Bai used to have a lot of comments about our MOMO's music. She also reposted many of his Weibo posts. She's the bootlicker. These Weibo posts were dug up one by one. People on the internet slowly realized that Wei Wei Bai used to like Ojinma very much. Even her music was because of Ojinma's influence. And besides that Weibo post about blackmail dating, and Jiang Ro's Weibo post, she hardly had any black spots. If he could not sell his songs, he would work to support himself. Before participating in a good song, no matter how miserable it was, they would not make a single mistake. Moreover, the cat she was raising now was a stray cat. Ojima's Weibo posts were all dug up. The most shocking Weibo post was a photo of Wei Wei Bai squatting at the entrance of Ojinma's book signing event. She had been squatting at the door since 3 or 4 in the morning so that she could queue up to see Ojinma. On Weibo, she was holding 2 cold steam buns in her hands. She didn't even have soy milk for breakfast. She had Ojinma's album with her. Moreover, it was a limited edition and very expensive. The angels and the dog-beating team fell silent at the same time. Everyone was a fan. When they saw her Weibo, they knew that Wei Wei Bai was not pretending. It was only because she was a true fan of Ojinma that she could do this. The angels, Wei Wei Bai is Ojinma's loyal fan. The dog-beating team, it's all in the past. Our Wei Wei is no longer a fan of Ojinma. This sentence slapped the angels in the face again. However, many of the angels could not bear to continue scolding her. After all, Wei Wei Bai was a loyal fan. Even after she scammed Ojinma's Weibo, there were no traces of her being a fan of Ojinma. However, she looked so pitiful as she squatted at the entrance of the book signing event with cold steamed buns in her hands. It still aroused their sympathy. Wei Wei Bai must have been too much of a fan of Ojinma. That was why she scammed Ojinma. Then, she was awakened by their scolding and turned into an anti-fan. It was too tragic, too pitiful. The crossover system, Adonis, come here. 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 The mobile reading is at https://m sashu com// the crossover system. Adonis, come here. Chapter 12:05. Then Ojima started to become a bootlicker, Tui, chaser, no, fall in love. Instantly, fans from both sides came up with a bunch of drama in their minds. Wei Weibai was Ojima's fan. She liked Ojima so much that she wanted to fall in love with him. Everyone understood. Wasn't it natural for one to fantasize about their idol being together with them? It was just that Wei Weibai said it out loud. No one laughed at each other. Then, Wei Weibai suddenly woke up and stopped being Ojima's fan. But at this moment, Ojima woke up. He was an old virgin angel, a pure cutie who didn't know anything about the world. He suddenly felt that the girl who turned from a fan to a hater. She was not pretentious and was completely different from those flirtatious asterisk cheese outside. His heart was moved. How could it be wrong when it was written like that on Weibo? Then, he started to chase after his first love and even confessed on Weibo. But Wei Weibai had just turned into a hater and was embarrassed, so she rejected him. This was the absolute model of an angel falling in love with a Cinderella. As for Ojima's image, it collapsed. What collapsed? That was growing up. An angel became a bootlicker because of love? Wasn't this normal? He was pure and unpretentious. He was pure and had never been in love. So he didn't know how to fall in love and became a bootlicker. Those who knew how to fall in love and were mature and elegant were all experienced drivers. So, their MOMO was still a pure and cute little angel who didn't know anything about the world except for love. The filter of the angel group's fans was as thick as the distance between heaven and earth. At a glance, it was boundless. Suddenly, even Wei Weibai didn't seem so detestable. In fact, she was a little cute. She was a little talented. She was a little pure. The woman MOMO liked was also a good person. The dog-beating team watched from beginning to end and suddenly realized. The angel group's change from a bootlicker group was so natural and unpretentious. Shouldn't they struggle? Shouldn't they be angry? They were all holding machetes and sticks, waiting for the angels to counterattack. In the end, the atmosphere became warm. Of course, Ojima's fan club was not just one style. There were also some female fans who couldn't stand it. She even wanted everyone to work together to kick Wei Weibai out of the entertainment industry. Then, she would turn Ojima back into that little angel who didn't know anything and didn't feel like a ship with any woman. In the end, most of the angels turned to Wei Weibai as passers-by, and some even turned into fans. This made some of his girlfriend's fans unhappy. I've been his fan for so many years. How could he betray us? He stayed up all night to hit the charts, spent all his living expenses, and bought so many albums. How can he fall in love? Quit being fans. We want to quit being fans. The voices of the fans who wanted to call Ojima hubby were getting louder and louder. Even the higher-ups of Songxing were alarmed. This was because Ojima's fans were dropping. Although compared to the huge number of fans, this wasn't a lot. However, this group of fans was the most radical and the loudest. Some fans who didn't have bad feelings towards Ojima's relationship. They were also influenced and started to quit being fans. Some fans were especially easy to incite and would accidentally quit being fans. Moreover, the most important music festival of the year was about to start. Ojima was nominated for Best Album, Best Male Singer, Best Songwriter, Most Popular Male Singer, and more than 10 other awards. This award ceremony was more fair and influential. Say a button at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 1206. With such a big incident happening to Ojima, the company was worried that it would affect the award ceremony. The higher-ups called Ojima. Fans have to leave because the person you're dating is by Wei Weibai. Wei Weibai was a newcomer after all, and although her online reputation had improved recently, many people did not have a good impression of her. More importantly, many fans left because they felt that Wei Weibai was not good enough for Ojima. When Ojima heard this, he tightened his grip on the phone. After a moment of silence, he laughed coldly. So be it. Tell them to get lost. I don't care. With that, he hung up the phone. Then he supported his forehead with his hand in annoyance. and his eyes darkened. Actually, he cared a lot. His fans were his pillar of support. They were the foundation of his foothold in the entertainment industry. He did not even dare to go on Weibo, because he was afraid that his image as a little angel would be destroyed. His fans did not love him. Out of the hundreds of millions of fans, he estimated that 80 million had left. The remaining 10 million fans might still reluctantly follow him because of his songs. What about the remaining 10 million fans? Those were all zombie fans that he had bought. Ojima looked arrogant, but he had an inferiority complex, so he did not know that only a small portion of his fans had left. It was a drop in the ocean compared to his 80 million fans. He did not even believe in his own talent. The experience of being abandoned in his childhood left a deep scar in his heart. Even if he told himself that it was not his fault deep down in his heart, he would still think that he was not good enough. Ojima sat on the sofa for a long time. Suddenly, he remembered that tonight's music award ceremony. This award ceremony was quite important. Although he had received it a few times, tonight was different, because the female companion he brought to the award ceremony today was by Weiwei. He thought of the evening gown that he had given her. His Adam's apple bobbed. This was the first gift he had given her, although they had just confirmed their relationship. However, she did not agree to live together. She insisted on going back to that shabby rental house to raise that ugly cat. Strangely enough, he did not turn into a cat after catching up on sleep today. This miraculous ability finally lost its effect. Ojima did not know whether to feel relieved or regretful. He put on his suit and tie and tidied his hair. Actually, this was the process of sorting out oneself. After he arrived at the award ceremony, his own packaging team would take care of him in a special dressing room. However, he was able to pick up Weiwei by, so he couldn't make things too awkward. A woman is pleased with her own appearance. It was the same for men. Ojima drove to pick her up. As he waited, he couldn't help but lean against the car door. Then, he lit a cigarette and frowned. He was still thinking about the matter of him not being a fan anymore. Moreover, he was worried that Weiwei Bai would once again be caught in a storm of public opinion. Weiwei Bai opened the door and walked out. Her makeup was light and ordinary, and the evening gown she was wearing draped down the contours of her beautiful body. Ojima looked over, but he could not take his eyes off her. Usually, Weiwei Bai would not dress so exquisitely and formally. However, she was already exceptionally elegant and charming. Therefore, he did not know that when she dressed up seriously, she would actually be so stunning. The sapphire blue V-neck gown shone with an exquisite texture of velvet. The fabric that clung to her elegant figure neatly wrapped around her waist, bringing out her slender waist. Her ankle-length skirt had a wavy cut, and every time she moved, it would always be there. As she swayed, her fair and delicate ankles were exposed. She was sexy and innocent. Miraculously, it was a combination of her body. Weiwei Bai saw that he was staring at her for a long time, but he did not say anything. The cigarette was held between his slender fingers. The smoke enshrouded his beautiful eyes, bringing out a tinge of gentleness. "What's wrong?" She walked over in a few steps and reached out to take the cigarette in his hand. Ojima stared at her deeply for a long time before saying, "Nothing. When I see you, everything is fine." He opened the door and let Weiwei Bai into the car. When he was about to start the car, he thought of something and took out a jewelry box from beside the car seat. He opened it. It was a sky blue diamond-shaped gem necklace. "Let me put on for you." Weiwei Bai glanced at it. "I can't afford to lose it. You don't have to wear it." Ojima smiled. "It's not the sponsor's. It's mine." He had specially bought it for her. Weiwei Bai hesitated for a moment. She wanted to reject it, but she could already feel the cold touch on her neck. Ojima bent down and put the necklace on for her. His breath caressed her neck. The man's breath invaded her body in a domineering manner. "Weiwei," he said softly. Weiwei Bai's attention was still on the necklace. Ojima had already lowered his head and planted a kiss on her collarbone. Her body trembled. Ojima had already said, "Don't be afraid of losing it. I can afford to raise you." Ding! The male lead's affection has increased to 80. When he saw her, his panic and inferiority disappeared. Even if he had 90 million fans and 10 million zombie fans, they all left him. As long as he looked at her, he actually felt happy. Transmigration system. Male god, come here. Transmigration system. Male god, come here. // transmigration system. Male god, come here. Transmigration system. Male god, come here. Transmigration system. Male god, come here, comma. Chapter 1207. Because they had to walk the red carpet, and because OG Ma was the first to walk the red carpet. Hence, the schedule was very tight. OG Ma's assistant was very nervous because OG Ma would usually arrive at this time. But when he called, no one picked up. When he went home, he did not see anyone either. If this continued, there would be news of him acting like a big shot again. Now that there were so many things going on, they really could not let anything happen and tarnish OG Ma's image. Outside the red carpet, there was a thick circle of fans. They were all holding OG Ma signs. Because OG Ma did not have any fan meetings recently, there was no need to pick him up at the airport. The only chance to see their idol was on the red carpet. The red carpet had been specially designed. There was a section that was closer to the fans so that the idol could interact with the fans. And today, the fans came with a mission. They hoped that OG Ma would give them an explanation for his relationship with Wei Wei Bai. His girlfriend fans were quite strong. They had already occupied the front row and were eagerly waiting for their idol. MO will walk the red carpet alone today, right? It's like this every year. Of course, he will be alone. Don't tell me he will be walking with Wei Wei Bai. I don't want to. That ugly Wei Wei Bai is not good enough for our MO. Wei Wei Bai doesn't seem that ugly. She just looks a little petty and has good skin. Compared to our MO's good looks, it's like comparing a chicken to a phoenix. Yes. If they walk the red carpet together, Wei Wei Bai's aura will be crushed. In that case, it's fine for them to walk the red carpet once. It'll be best if MO makes Wei Wei Bai look like a village girl or an internet celebrity. Then, we'll take the photo and throw it at the dog beating group's faces. Awesome. With that said, everyone was looking forward to seeing them walk the red carpet. After all, they had been chased by the dog beating group every day and had developed feelings for each other. If they didn't return the favor, they wouldn't be able to take it lying down. Of course, the angels also felt that OG Ma and Wei Wei Bai would not walk the red carpet together. It was one thing for Wei Wei Bai not to be invited. OG Ma was still a fucking one-sided love. Talking about it made his heart bleed like a river. Was there such an idol who would stab their fans in such a way? It was one thing for him to fall in love, but if he became a bootlicker, he would be kicked away. This made them lose all face as fans. They had lost all face. Suddenly, the reporters in front started to clamor. They're coming. Who's here? OG Ma's car arrived. As the king of popularity and the king of strength, OG Ma himself was a miracle. No one could sing as well as he did. The black car slowly drove in and stopped in front of the red carpet. On the driver's side, the door opened. The angel group immediately raised their heads in anticipation. Although they were here to get rid of their fans, they still had to suck up to them at the same time. It would be a waste not to suck up to them. OG Ma swiftly got out of the car. He was wearing a navy blue suit. Under the slim-fit suit jacket was a white shirt without a tie. One button was unbuttoned, revealing his beautiful and fair neck. He calmly raised his eyes and looked around. Under his thick black eyelashes was a pair of amber eyes that were clean and deep. OG Ma looked at the reporters and his angel group. His thin lips curved slightly, revealing a polite and distant smile. But it was surprisingly stunning. The angel group instantly forgot to get rid of their fans and only remembered to stare at him. Chapter 1208. With that face of his, everyone wanted to forgive him. They thought that OG Ma was going to get off the car and walk on the red carpet. In the end, he casually adjusted his sleeves and walked elegantly to the passenger seat. He bent down slightly, and some of his short black hair fell down, making him look a little more wantonly cute for no reason. He opened the car door and placed his hand in front of the car door in a gentlemanly manner. He seemed to be waiting for something. A hand as delicate as white jade reached out from the car. OG Ma smiled. It was no longer a polite and distant smile, but an irrepressible gentleness. He clenched his fist and used more strength to pull her out. Everyone's eyes were instantly filled with the beautiful sapphire blue. Wei Weibai was caught off guard and was pulled out by Ojima. She stumbled, but he was already close to her, holding her slender waist with one hand. Then he lowered his head, his eyes half closed, and his smile was a little smug from a successful prank. "Be careful. If you sprain your ankle, I can only carry you on the red carpet." Humans were all vile and vain. Now that he had her, he couldn't wait to carry her away and announce their relationship everywhere. Wei Weibai blushed and immediately pushed him away. Then she steadied herself. Ojima, on the other hand, held her hand tightly. It was an intimate gesture. The cameras of the reporters started flashing. Wei Weibai seemed to be a little uncomfortable. She looked at the dense crowd in confusion. Her long black hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall. She was wearing a long dress that was the same color as Ojima's. It was like a galaxy in the dark night. Ojima held her hand and walked step by step towards the red carpet. Under the bright lights, her fair cheeks were flushed and her thin lips were as delicate as a rose. Ojima held her hand and walked towards the reporters. The reporters were frantically taking photos. It was a normal process. Then he continued to hold her hand and walked forward. The red carpet was not long. In the past, Ojima couldn't wait to walk on it. Now, he hated the organizers for being so stingy. Why was the red carpet so short? Did they not have enough funds? The angels stared blankly at them, walking over. Wei Weibai was walking on the red carpet with Ojima. Damn it, they were so compatible that they were completely speechless. She had never seen a female celebrity standing next to Ojima who would not lose out in comparison. Wei Weibai was the first. The angels looked on helplessly as Ojima ignored them and continued to walk forward. Suddenly, a fan couldn't take it and started crying. "Mo, are you really in a relationship?" Ojima paused. He turned back and gave him a blissful smile. "Yes, you to wish me well." His usual methods of comforting his fans were well practiced. But this time, he wanted fans. The fans shouted one after another. "How can we bless you?" "Bai Weiwei doesn't deserve you. We won't admit it." "Stop being fans." "We want to stop being fans." "Boycott Weiwei Bai. We won't be fans of you if you're in a relationship." The fans were very agitated. Even the security guards came to chase them away. Ojima's smile didn't change, but his gaze turned colder. Just as he was about to explode, a hand gently caressed his chin. Ojima was caught off guard and lowered his head. A kiss was on his lips. His breathing paused as he saw Bai Weiwei lean on him, raising her head to kiss him. On the long red carpet, there was a lively crowd. The beautiful girl kissed Ojima gently. This scene was so heartwarming and beautiful. It was like a fairy tale. After Wei Weibai finished kissing him, she left his lips and turned to look at the fans. "It's fine if you guys stop being fans. I'll be his fan. Say a button at the bottom to record your reading record." Chapter 1209. Her eyes were still smiling, but her expression was extremely calm. She said coldly, "Even if no one in this world likes him, he still has me. It's not up to you to threaten him." The fans were stunned by Wei Weibai's cold words for a moment. She looked away and met Ojinma's complicated gaze. "Let's go. Don't be in a bad mood because of these irrelevant things." She actually knew that he was upset because of the fans. Ojinma's heart was suddenly thrown into warm water, and a warm feeling filled his eyes. All his emotions turned into a simple action. He held her hand and lifted it. His lips touched the back of her hand, and he planted a sincere kiss on it. And his eyes, from start to finish, never left her. "Okay, I'll listen to you." Ding, the male lead's favorability is at 85. After walking the red carpet, they entered the venue where the award ceremony was held. The stars were shining brightly, and it was extravagant and gorgeous. Ojima and Wei Weibai sat in the front row, and there was a table beside them with champagne and Western food. The waiters were busy refilling the champagne that ran out and changing the dishes that were cold. Although there was a lot of social interaction and not many people were eating, Everything was there. The process was very fast. For Wei Wei Bai, it had nothing to do with her. After acting cool for a while, he gained a wave of favorable impression points. Her mind was still thinking about that strange side mission. This mission was really strange. Whatever secret Su Yehuan had, it had nothing to do with Jinma's main mission, although there had been such missions before. But Wei Wei Bai had a sharp feeling. The main system wanted to kill her so much that it wouldn't give her a simple side mission to fool her. She was already used to being tortured. The host on the stage announced the big stars who were giving out the awards. That kind of heavyweight senior would go up and sing a duet with the host. Then they entered the most important stage of the award ceremony. At the beginning, it was all relatively small awards. Jinma wasn't nervous, and his attention wasn't even on the award ceremony. She kept staring at Wei Wei Bai. He handed her a towel and asked the waiter to change the cold food. She also ordered some vegetable salad and fruit juice. He poured himself a glass of champagne and did not touch it. Wei Wei Bai ate something. While everyone else was staring at the podium, Jinma was staring at his girlfriend and telling her to eat more. Because Wei Wei Bai had to put on her makeup and put on her gown, she was delayed and had not eaten yet. After he found out, he stared at her as she ate. She had been having a hard time for a long time, and her 3 meals were not normal. He ate a lot of junk food like instant noodles. He was afraid that she would spoil her stomach and would not allow her to live the same life as before. The host called his name twice in a row before he reacted. After that, it was Jinma's turn to leave the stage after receiving her award. She poured Wei Wei Bai an extra glass of juice. He was called up again. She called his name again and again. Every time, he would go up right after he came down. Jinma finally couldn't take it anymore. He stopped reciting his lines and said, "What other awards are there? Give them to me together." The host. Jinma held the trophy in his hand. "How many more awards have I won?" His expression was gloomy and his tone was cold. It was the host's first time seeing a celebrity who had just received an award. His expression was as dark as the bottom of a pot. Under Jinma's threatening gaze, the host made an exception and gave his award to him together. Jinma carried a pile of trophies and hurried off the stage. Button at the bottom to record your reading record. Chapter 12:10. After stuffing the trophy to his assistant, he sat beside Wei Wei Bai and peeled prawns for her. This prawn meat is very delicious. I've eaten it before. Wei Wei Bai was speechless for a moment before she tasted it. It was indeed delicious. The assistant next to him and the host on the stage were already stunned. If you want to show off your love, go home and do it. Showing off in public? The single meow meow was going to protest. Besides, who would eat at an awards ceremony? Even if there's a feast on the table. Don't you know? Everyone was elegant. They didn't eat and just drank. Did they really think that this was a restaurant? No matter what, Jinma still tried his best to awkwardly show off his affection. His entire body exuded the hormones of love. He couldn't wait to hang his name tag on Wei Wei Bai. It was best to let the reporters take a few more photos, so that Wei Wei Bai would not be able to change her mind about liking him. It would be best if they could become the most affectionate couple in the entertainment industry. Even if Wei Wei Bai regretted it in the future, if she dared to abandon him, the public opinion of the entertainment industry would scold her to death. Then she would regret it and turn back. Jinma felt that he was really smart. After the awards ceremony ended, Jinma personally drove Wei Wei Bai home. "You have to move right now. Your rental house is not safe." She would rather die than cohabit with him. Jinma wanted to tie her up with a rope. What if something happened to that shabby rental house? Wei Wei Bai said, "When I sell the songs and have more money in my account, I'll choose a better location." Jinma gripped the steering wheel tightly. "Can't you just move over?" Actually, if she moved to his house, it would be very beneficial for her to increase her favorability. But when she thought of the side mission, she suppressed her impulse and shook her head gently. "I'll support myself. I don't want others to say that you're my sugar daddy." Jinma muttered unhappily. "I want to be your sugar daddy." Tomorrow, he would ask someone to book a song with Wei Wei Bai at a very high price. She immediately became a rich woman. Wei Wei Bai couldn't help but laugh when she heard his childish complaints. Jinma's eyes darkened. Her smile still made him feel unreal. They were really together. Even though the car had slowed down to a snail's pace, he still sent her to the door. After Wei Wei Bai got out of the car, Ojima casually lifted the hem of her dress. "It's late. You should go back first." Wei Wei Bai stood at the door and looked at him gently. Ojima blushed and breathed heavily. "How about I stay and protect you?" Wei Wei Bai had already opened the door. She looked him up and down and already knew what he was thinking. 100 for a sticker. She couldn't afford it. Therefore, Wei Wei Bai firmly refused. "I'm tired. Jean Mo." Just a simple mention of Jean Mo, and he immediately surrendered. He lowered his head and kissed her cheek. Then he complained, "I'll definitely make you move." The two of them were reluctant to part. After a while, Wei Wei Bai closed the door. She turned off Ojinma's resentful face. Wei Wei Bai yawned, removed her makeup, chatted with the system, fed the cat, and posted a song on Weibo. Then she took a shower and went to bed. Ojima walked to the car and called the bodyguards. Soon, 3 bodyguards arrived. Ojima looked at them coldly. "Guard this place well." The 3 of them took turns to guard this place. Nothing serious would happen. Ojima had just returned home. Just as the car was about to enter the villa, a female, ghost-like figure rushed over. He immediately stepped on the brakes and took a closer look. It was Jiang Ro. She was haunting him. Ojima was about to step on the accelerator and run over her. Anyway, Jiang Ro definitely wouldn't dare to be run over by him. However, Jiang Ro shouted, "Brother, I'm here to admit my mistake. I stole the song Qing Lian." Ojima was silent for a moment before he drove the car into the garage. Then he said to Jiang Ro, "Come in and explain." He opened the door and didn't care about Jiang Ro. He went straight to the TV to find a tape recorder. He hid it so well that no one would find it. He pressed the switch. Jiang Ro had just entered the house and didn't see what he did. Jiang Ro really put in a lot of effort to enter the house. "You're saying that you stole the song Qing Lian from Wei Wei Bai?" Jiang Ro was afraid of being chased out. She thought of her motive and her eyes hardened. "Yes, I stole it." Ojinma's eyes were extremely cold. He casually took out a bottle of mineral water from the fridge and asked casually, "How did you steal it? Tell me clearly." Jiang Ro immediately explained the entire process clearly. Ojima heard what he wanted and slowly drank the water. Then he sneered, "You can leave now." Jiang Ro didn't say anything. Ojima turned around and saw a scene that made his 3 views shatter. Jiang Ro actually took off her clothes and stood in front of him naked. Her face was full of tears. "Brother, I love you." Ojima, even a dog, couldn't break him down like this. The save button. Chapter 12:11. Jiang Ro was naked and looked pitiful. She cried pitifully. "It's so hard for me to love you." Ojima was speechless. She took 2 steps forward, and Ojima took 3 steps back. Jiang Ro was a little anxious and wanted to pounce on him. "Brother, don't you pity me? I love you so much." Ojima felt that his worldview was crumbling. He was disgusted. He rushed to the house's alarm system and pressed the alarm button without hesitation. Suddenly, the villa was filled with the shrill sound of the alarm. Ojima was separated by the sofa and did not even look at her. He said angrily, "Jiang Ro, stop joking. Don't force me to kill you." He felt that she had the courage to take revenge with a knife. But how did she think of such a despicable and disgusting thing like taking off his clothes in front of her own brother? When he thought of the past, his half-sister by his side, who shared the same father but a different mother, had actually harbored such frightening thoughts about him. Ojima felt like he'd stepped on dog shit. It made him feel disgusted. Jiang Ro saw the disgust in his eyes. Outside the villa, there were many security guards' footsteps. She knew that the alarm system would not stop once it was pressed. It would only stop when the owner was confirmed to be safe. Someone was already pressing the doorbell. Sir, are you okay?" Ojima pointed at the door. "Get lost. Get as far away as you can." Jiang Ro had no choice but to put on her clothes immediately. At the same time, the door opened. The security guards immediately rushed in and asked, "Sir, are you okay?" Ojima said to them coldly, "Mark this woman as a key evil guest. Don't let her near this area in the future." The security measures in the villa area were very strict. This was also the reason why the villas here were the most expensive. When a security guard saw that it was Jiang Ro, they were a little surprised. However, the owner of the villa was O Jinma. Hence, even though Jiang Ro was O Jinma's younger sister, they still followed the rules. Jiang Ro was quickly sent out. She opened her mouth several times, wanting to say that she was not his sister. But when she saw the disgust on his face, she knew that if she said it, he wouldn't do it. She might not be able to get O Jinma's love, but only his ruthlessness. In fact, she was forced to do such a stupid thing because she was forced into a dead end. O Jinma's ban meant that she had no income. She and her mother were used to living a good life and were used to being extravagant. He was not used to such a poor life at all. Moreover, she did not know how to write songs at all. She had no talent, and the songs she wrote were like trash. She also felt that O Jinma might have a different opinion of her after being with her for so many years. Unexpectedly, he still lost the bet. He liked Wei Wei Bai and didn't like her. Jiang Ro was thrown out, looking battered and exhausted. She saw others looking at her with disdain. She couldn't stand it and covered her face, then turned around and left. O Jinma had goosebumps. He was disgusted. He immediately called the cleaning company and asked them to send someone over to clean the entire place. When the cleaning staff came over and finished cleaning, it was already past midnight. O Jinma had the time to record those words. He entered them into the computer. He even deleted the words of Jiang Ro taking off her clothes and saying that she loved him. He couldn't let Wei Wei Bai know. Otherwise, she would think that his family was full of perverts. He cut the process of Jiang Ro stealing Wei Wei Bai's song. He also cut out the words of how to destroy the original manuscript. Then, he immediately opened Weibo. He thought about how to write a good Weibo post to prove Wei Wei Bai's innocence. / Chapter 12:12. When O Jinma thought of Jiang Ro, he felt disgusted and nauseous. He immediately opened Wei Wei Bai's Weibo. He wanted to look at her Weibo to cleanse his soul. Wei Wei Bai rarely posted on Weibo. She didn't even take selfies. Before O Jinma opened her Weibo, he suddenly saw that the comments under his Weibo were weird. I was wrong. MOMO. I hope you're happy. Congratulations. Congratulations to our bootlickers for finally licking our goddess. Wei Wei Bai is very good. MOMO. We will definitely not stop being fans. O Jinma. When he went to attend the award ceremony tonight, there were still a bunch of fans outside saying that they would no longer be fans. O Jinma didn't know how many fans he had lost. He didn't go on Weibo at all during this period. The company's higher-ups had already given up on correcting him. They didn't dare to bother him at all. He looked at his fans. They didn't drop, but increased. Although the number of fans was large, and it didn't increase by much, he had already announced that he wouldn't be an angel anymore. He was going to fall in love. Why were there still so many fans who didn't stop being fans? O Jinma looked at Weibo for a while and saw the trending topics. There shouldn't be any suspense about the trending topics. After all, he had won more than 10 awards tonight. 6 of them were heavyweight awards. He should still be the top trending topic. But he was the second trending topic. And the declaration that he would no longer be a fan was the 7th trending topic. The 3rd trending topic was the Angel Group's Weibo congratulating O Jinma and Wei Wei Bai on their relationship. O Jinma stared at the top trending topic. It was Wei Wei Bai's. The rest of my life is you. Accompany you, love you. Glory, splendor, wealth, and status are you. Plain tea is you. Together, our hearts will never change. O Jinma, I still have a long life. Please guide me. She released a new song and posted it on Weibo. The title of the song was The Rest of My Life Is You. There was a photo under the text. It was the hands of the two of them, their fingers interlaced and tightly clasped. O Jinma had no idea when she had taken the photo. Looking at this posture, it seemed that he was holding her hand and blocking the cameras of some reporters for her. Wei Wei Bai slapped it with one hand. The photo was a little blurry, but it didn't detract from their intimate posture. O Jinma stared at her blankly. The warm feeling in his chest finally rushed his eyes. Was he touched or happy? Even he couldn't explain it clearly. Ojima covered his eyes and put on his earphones. He began to listen to the song. Her voice was gentle and refreshing, and the song was simply a classic. It was better than any of her songs. But more importantly, the love in her singing simply overflowed from the song. This song may be covered by countless people in the future, but there will definitely be no one who can sing it with the feeling of Wei Wei Bai. This is not a song. This is love. Ojima supported his eyes with his fingers, and tears welled up in his eyes. He suddenly retracted the evidence of Jiang Rou's theft and did not publish it. It was too warm tonight. It was not suitable for Jiang Rou's disgusting matter to spoil the mood. Ojima felt that he would publish it tomorrow, so he started to play the piano. His fingers played a series of beautiful notes. These weren't the cool and mysterious notes. It wasn't his usual style. It was a different kind of sweet and beautiful melody. Ojima had never felt so happy when composing a song. It was as if pink bubbles were floating in the air. The song was quickly formed and completed in one go. There wasn't a single flaw. // Chapter 12-13. This was the song that Ojima was most satisfied with. He didn't even have time to put down the album. Instead, he turned on his computer and started to record the song. He matched the sound of his piano. The song was completed in one take. He posted it on Weibo. My life with you, morning and night, drinking soy milk and fried dough sticks, talking about lyrics and music, raising a big face cat. Wei Wei Bai, I don't dare to teach you. I just want to hold your hand. The song was called The Rest of My Life with You. If Wei Wei Bai's Weibo account and classic love song made all the angels acknowledge her, then Ojima's Weibo account and a love song that successfully became popular made the entire internet go crazy. They were evenly matched. The two songs were actually not inferior to each other in terms of popularity. In the weak music industry, Ojima was like a precious treasure. Then came the genius Wei Wei Bai. In an instant, countless passers-by, fans flooded in. They didn't care about the angels and dog-beating groups. They rushed in and had the absolute advantage. They were the Mabai couple, Wang Daowan. This is a super sweet genius couple worth being fans for a lifetime. Little ones, get up and eat candy. In an instant, all kinds of fans, pictures, and edited videos exploded. The two songs, My Life with You and My Life with You, went on the front page of all the major magazines overnight. The numbers killed any song in seconds. Ojima in Love, Wei Wei Bai responded. It became the biggest event of the year in the entertainment industry, forming the biggest craze on the internet. Because of the presence of Bai Weiwei and Ojima, the Good Songs program instantly became the most eye-catching program. When the director of Good Songs received the news in the middle of the night, he jumped out of bed happily. He knew that even if the program was terrible in the future, as long as Wei Wei Bai and Ojima existed, the program would be guaranteed to have the highest viewership ratings of the year. Because who listened to songs? Everyone was looking for candy. The director was so happy that he even filmed the interaction between Wei Wei Bai and Ojima on the show. At that time, Wei Wei Bai had not accepted Ojima's advances, so the two of them weren't that sweet. But who was the director? Even enemies could be edited into gay friends. Cut, cut, cut. He must cut out a sweet relationship. The director had become one of the core members of the Mabai couple. After Ojima posted the song on Weibo, she was so excited that she didn't know what to do. There was only one thought in his mind. He wanted to see her. I really, really want to. Ojima even picked up his phone, wanted to call her. Tell her that I miss her very much. It was the first time he liked someone so much that he couldn't stand being apart for even a second. So this was what love was like. He completely understood the feelings of those damn composers who only knew how to write love songs. If he was with Wei Wei Bai, he could come up with a love song in a day, and it didn't even have a credit card. Ojima's fingers were already pressing her number in his phone, but he couldn't bear to send it. He was afraid that she was asleep, tired, and resting. If he called her rashly, he would disturb her sleep. Ojima's fingers loosened, tightened, and loosened. In the end, he couldn't help but send a text message. I was afraid that you would be asleep, so I didn't dare to call. I just wanted to tell you that I miss you. Good night. He still did such a mushy thing. After Jinma sent the text message, he lay on the bed. He still remembered their intertwined memories on this bed. Just the memory of her quietly closing her eyes and lying beside him made his whole body heat up. Is at https://www.sashu.com//. Chapter 12:14. He pulled the pillow that she had been using into his arms. He pretended that it was Wei Bai and then buried his face into the pillow. There was no smell of her anymore. Ojima was still happily rubbing like a cat. After rubbing for a while, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Why did he feel that his face was covered in fur and the pillow was not soft anymore? Ojima was shocked. He opened his eyes and found himself in a familiar cat bed. He was holding a piece of dried fish and rubbing his face. Ojima was stunned for a moment. He stuffed the dried fish into the cat's mouth and tasted it. It was not bad. Then he carefully jumped out of the cat bed and saw Wei Bai lying on the bed. The blanket on her body had fallen to the ground. He sighed. Why didn't she know how to take care of herself? He struggled to bite the blanket and pull it to climb onto the bed. It took him a lot of effort to cover her body with the blanket again. He sat on the bed and watched her sleep with her eyes closed. Her face without makeup was not as exquisite as before, but it was as beautiful as a lotus flower. It made people feel comfortable just looking at her. He gently reached out his paws and retracted them. He used his paws to stroke her hair. Her glossy hair slid under his cat paws. Jinma carefully crawled under the blanket and then curled up into a ball beside her. It looked like she was hugging him. Her warm body made him squint his eyes in satisfaction. Wei Bai seemed to have felt his arrival. In her sleep, her hand gently rested on his furry body. He leaned against her chest and let out a comfortable purr. Then Jinma closed his eyes and slowly fell asleep. Happiness and security occupied his body at the same time. Ding! The male lead's favorability has increased to 90. Wei Bai opened her eyes and saw the cat beside her. His cat head was shamelessly rubbing against her chest. The corner of her mouth twitched. She really wanted to throw this shameless cat out of here. But seeing the favorability increase, she could only resist this impulse. The system suddenly said, "The side mission has been halted." Wei Bai was also vexed by this. Yes, the favorability is rising too quickly. I really don't have a clue about the side quest. After all, it was Su Yehua's little secret. It didn't sound difficult, but the secret was unknown. The person involved tried his best to hide it, but there were so many secrets in a human's life. What kind of secrets did the side quest require? There were no clues at all. The only clue was the side quest. But so far, the only small task was to drink Jinma's water in front of Su Yehuan. She felt that this small mission was purely to make Su Yehuan jealous and Jinma smug. Could it be that the little secret was that Su Ye loved her to death, and she was too slow to notice? Wei Bai thought for a moment, and she couldn't help but close her eyes. She yawned. I don't care. I'll think about it tomorrow. I'm going to rest first. There was still more than half a year left. Her favorability mission was about to be completed, and only a side mission was left. Wei Bai felt that this couldn't be better. She reached out and touched Jinma, then closed her eyes and went to sleep. The system opened its third eye to observe Su Yehua. As expected, it couldn't see her. Once the side quest was involved, it was no longer under its jurisdiction. It couldn't see Su Yehua's situation. The system looked at Wei Bai sleeping soundly, and as it watched, it became sleepy too. When she woke up the next day, Jinma had already gone back. Wei Bai finished feeding the cat and was about to go out to throw the trash. She saw a familiar figure standing at the door. Wei Bai's eyes lit up. Wasn't this Su Yehua? Her side quest. When Su Yehua saw Wei Bai, he couldn't help but smile gently. Wei, I'm here to take a look at the cat. Wei Bai immediately opened the door and let him take a look at the cat. Your medical skills are very good. The cat is fine now. Except for the serious injury to its leg, it was a little lame. Basically, the cat had already recovered. Su Yehua squatted down and carefully examined the cat. Then he nodded. It's fine now. I'm relieved. Wei Wei Bai nodded. Doctor, do you want some tea? I'll pour you a cup. Just as she turned around, her hand was suddenly grabbed. Wei Wei Bai turned around and saw Su Yehua nervously holding her hand. The gentle smile on his face was gone, and he looked a little uneasy. Wei Wei, I want to tell you that I like you. Just as he finished speaking, the half-open door was suddenly pushed open, and a cold, handsome face appeared. Who did you say you like? Ojin Ma's voice was low and filled with a dangerous chill. To read the at https://www.sashu.com/ to read the full article at https://www.sashu.com to read the full article at https://www.sashu.com to read the full article at https://m.sashu.com say button comma. Chapter 12:15. After he finished speaking, Ojimo realized what made him angry. Wei Wei Bai stood there in a daze. Her hand was actually being held by Su Yehuan. Ojimo's eyes darkened. If he hadn't come so early in the morning to pick her up, was his head about to turn green? Moreover, Wei Wei Bai didn't resist and just let him hold her hand. He was angry and aggrieved. He rushed forward and pushed Su Yehuan away, then snatched her hand away. Why are you letting him hold your hand? You're being taken advantage of. Ojinma quickly used his sleeve to wipe her fair hand. He used so much force that the back of her hand turned red. Wei Wei Bai frowned and hissed, Jinma, it hurts a little. Ojinma immediately stopped and lowered his head. I used too much force. It doesn't hurt anymore. Su Yehuan stood alone in front of them. The lonely dog looked at the pair of lovey-dovey lovers. Su Yedo had an awkward and sad expression on his face. He looked at their hands and then at Wei Wei Bai. Then he said softly, I'll go back first, but I still want you to think about it. After all, I think I'm very suitable for you. Without waiting for Wei Wei Bai to reply, Ojinma stretched out his long legs and was already in front of Su Yehuan. He was slightly taller than Su Yehuan. His eyes were half closed and filled with darkness. You're courting death by coming here. How dare you covet my woman? You must be tired of living too comfortably. He wasn't boasting. If he really wanted to kill a doctor, he could still fight until Su Yehuan left the city like a stray dog. Su Yehuan pursed her lips and looked at him expressionlessly. Then he turned away and looked at Wei Wei Bai. Are you sure he's suitable for you? Bai Wei Wei was just about to reply to the show of affection. The side mission suddenly sounded. Ding, please tell Su Yehuan that it's not suitable. You can make up the rest of the conversation. Was this mission mocking her? If she said that it was not suitable, Jinma shouldn't have exploded. She finally understood that Jinma had a very explosive personality. It was just that many people didn't know that he usually suppressed it. He even made up the rest of the conversation. How? I'll make it up for you. Wei Wei Bai sneered in her heart. Then she hesitated and glanced at Ojinma. Ojinma had already turned around. That look in his eyes was as sharp as a knife, glinting brightly. Bai Wei Wei endured his terrifying gaze and said hesitantly, He's not suitable for me. She didn't even continue to make up the conversation. Ojinma's expression changed. He looked at her in disbelief, and then at Su Yi. Could it be that Bai Wei Wei accepted this damn doctor's confession? She didn't want him. Adulterer. Lecher. He couldn't bear to scold Wei Wei Bai. Ojinma immediately unleashed all his anger on Su Yehuan. He clenched his fingers into a fist and punched towards Su Yedan's damned white face. Su Yehuan didn't notice and was hit so hard that she staggered a few steps back and fell to the ground. Her nose started to bleed. He looked at Ojinma in a daze. He didn't seem to be able to react. Wei Wei Bai felt that Ojinma's actions were off the charts. She didn't even finish her sentence. He had already started to use violence against Su Yehuan. She quickly went forward, but she didn't even take a few steps. Ojinma had already turned around. His expression was cold and tense. His eyes were dark and scary. There was a sharp hostility. Save button at the bottom to record your reading record. Chapter 12:16. His ferocious aura was similar to that of a murder scene. Wait till I'm done with this bastard mistress. Then I'll settle the score with you. She already said that she was not suitable for him. They were definitely going to break up. No way. Then, Ojima squatted down and grabbed Su Yedwan's collar with a strength that almost strangled him to death. Su Yedwan suffocated and saw his eyes filled with murderous intent. Su Yedwan, I'll say it one more time. If you dare to have anything to do with Wei Wei again, I'll kill you. His voice was low and cold, sending chills down one's spine. Su Yedwan's face was full of blood. He breathed heavily and looked at Ojima gloomily. The atmosphere was tense, and there was a chill in the air that could explode at any moment. Suddenly, a slender hand held a handkerchief and gently pressed on Su Yedwan's nose to stop the blood from flowing out. Su Yedwan trembled and looked up in disbelief. However, he saw a slightly worried face appear beside him. When she was close to him, there was a faint fragrance coming from her body. It smelled good. She did not have any makeup on, but her skin was fair and flawless. It was natural and elegant. Su Yedwan looked at Wei Wei Bai in a daze for a while. However, he realized that Wei Wei Bai was pressing on his nose with one hand. Her other hand was gently pressing on Ojinma's mouth. Ojinma's eyes were still filled with hostility. However, his mouth was pressed down by Wei Wei Bai. He licked her soft and boneless fingers the moment he opened his mouth. His breathing became heavier. The threatening words were stuck in her fingers, and she could not say them. Wei Wei Bai frowned. Can't you listen to me? Really, you've never had a good temper. Her words were filled with disdain, but they were also intimate. After that, Wei Wei Bai did not care about Ojima anymore. Instead, he squatted beside Su Yedwan and said in a calm voice, Doctor, Ojima and I are indeed not compatible. However, there are more than 7 billion people in this world. Is there anyone whose character is compatible with another person? Her voice was so calm and even cold, but it was surprisingly gentle. Being suitable isn't a necessary condition to love someone. It's just that when I see that person, I feel that there's someone as brilliant as a rainbow in this world. No one can replace him. Her expression was indifferent, but her eyes were filled with love. I met that person who is as beautiful as a rainbow to me. It's my fortune to be with him. Su Yedwan's eyes were filled with astonishment at first, but slowly. However, he couldn't move his eyes away and could only look at Wei Wei Bai. She loosened her grip, and the handkerchief fell into Su Yedwan's hand. The nosebleed had stopped. Wei Wei Bai smiled. So I hope you can meet that person in the future, but it won't be me. Su Yedwan was silent for a while, looking at her with a complicated expression. Wei Wei Bai felt a little strange. Goosebumps appeared on her skin. Dr. Su's eyes seemed to be a little enthusiastic. Suddenly, a hand reached out from behind her and hugged her. A gloomy face appeared over her shoulder. Okay, are you guys done chatting? If you're done, can you get lost quickly? Ojima hugged her tightly, full of possessiveness. Su Yedwan glanced at Ojima, then slowly got up and wiped his nose with a handkerchief. He lowered his eyes, thinking about something. Then, he said gently, I'm leaving first. Wei Wei, you're really what? Wei Wei Bai's ears were about to stand up. The side mission was revealed by Su Yedwan herself. Although there were still a few months to a year, her affinity with him was already so high. /save button. Chapter 12:17. If you're not careful, you will fail the side mission. Once you complete the main mission, you have to complete the side mission too. It was the same in so many different worlds. But Su Yedwan didn't say anything. Instead, he pushed open the door and left. Bai Weiwei anxiously watched him leave. She hated people who left their words hanging. This was no different from the people in TV dramas who said that the murderer was and then died. It was just disgusting. Weiwei Bai's face was suddenly turned around by Ojima. His face was gloomy. What are you looking at? I can't bear to. Weiwei Bai immediately blinked. Her face was distorted by him. Ojima was still angry. He lowered his head and kissed her. After kissing her, she still felt stuffy. He kissed her again. Weiwei Bai couldn't stand him being so clingy. She pushed him away with her hands. Ojima was angry. He hugged her and sat on the floor, refusing to let go. Weiwei Bai rested her head on his chest. She felt that his arms were shockingly strong. His heart was beating very fast. She didn't know if it was because he was angry or excited. Jean Ma, I don't have any other intentions towards Su Yedwan. I just want to thank him for saving my cat. Oh, Jean Ma snorted. You should give him money instead of owing him a favor. One look, and you can tell that he's not a good person. Wei Wei Bai reached out and slid her fingertips across his neck and Adam's apple. Oh, Jean Ma narrowed his eyes. He looked like a lazy big cat, but there was a tinge of aggression in his eyes. Wei Wei Bai's voice became soft and sweet. I'm just like this to you. Oh, Jean Ma felt that he was being teased to death. He immediately put his hands under her knees and lifted her up. Then he turned around and pressed her onto the bed. Wei Wei Bai, this was too easy to tease. What did he want to do in broad daylight? Oh, Jean Ma's amber eyes were burning with passion. He held her face in his hands and lowered his head, his lips almost touching hers. Am I your rainbow? Wei Wei Bai's eyes widened in shock. Then she nodded. Who else could it be but you? Hearing this, Oh, Jean Ma was silent for a while. Then he kissed her on the lips. His breath blew on her face, and his voice was low and hoarse. Yes, you're also my rainbow. Ding, favorability is at 92. Her favorability towards him increased again. The system coughed lightly. Do you want to buy stickers? Wei Wei Bai hesitated, but Oh, Jean Ma's hand had already touched her thing. He rested his head on her neck. His muscles were trembling, and his voice was hoarse. Wei Wei, are you okay? Wei Wei Bai rejected him seriously to save the stickers. No. Oh, Jean Ma was silent for a moment before he nodded. Then he took out his belt and tied one of her hands to the railing of the bed. Then he raised his head. His amber eyes were stained with a scorching dark color. His thin lips curved into a seductive smile. I think it's okay. He said no and tied her wrists, afraid that she would run away. It was as if he could tie her up like this. Wei Wei Bai felt that she couldn't save the stickers. Should she buy one? Tongzi? Wei Wei Bai cried out in pain. The system, it was blocked. Recently, it had increased its efforts to eliminate pornography. Basically, the system would be blocked as soon as it took off half of its clothes. The host should be fine, right? The blocked system thought as it chewed on its instant noodles. Wei Wei Bai thought that Wei Wei Bai Jean Ma would be more restrained and would be able to wrap things up after one round. To the save button at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 12:18. But she was wrong. There was more time in the day, and the sky was bright, so she could see clearly. He was as excited as a wolf, she thought. Fortunately, she didn't buy any stickers. She would have to buy them until she went bankrupt. That wouldn't be enough for Ojima. Wei Wei Bai slept for a long time when she heard the sound of a cat. She thought that Ojima had turned into a cat again. She opened her eyes tiredly, but saw a shirtless man feeding the cat with his back facing her. His beautiful back muscles had a delicate glow under the light. When he lowered his head, his black hair fell over his forehead. There was a hint of gentleness in his eyes. Ojima seemed to have sensed movement behind him. He turned around and saw Wei Wei by looking at him from aside. The blanket fell to her shoulders. Her delicate collarbone was full of his kiss marks. Ojima's eyes darkened. He got up and walked to the bedside. He reached out and supported Wei Wei Bai's face. Then, he lowered his head and kissed her deeply. After kissing Wei Wei Bai until she was dizzy, he said with a gentle expression, "Get up and eat." He ordered a 5-star dinner in a big hotel. He spent the whole day in bed. During that time, he wanted to let go of her, but when he carried her to the bathroom to wash up, she couldn't help but continue to pester him. For an old virgin, once he found the person he wanted, it was as if he was suddenly enlightened. It was like he was crazy. He just wanted to be by her side every day. This was an emotion that Ojima had never felt before. He used to think that it was too troublesome to be too close to others. Furthermore, she was in the creative industry, so she often needed a quiet environment. So after a long time, he became more and more annoyed with people getting close to him. As for Jiang Ro, although he treated her like a real brother, that was only in terms of material things. He had never treated her badly. He was stingy and didn't give her anything else. He didn't even want to give her his own songs. Because her singing was not very good, It took him a lot of effort to write the song. He did not want to waste it on someone like Jiang Ro, who had no talent. Oh Jinma suddenly realized that he was actually cold to everyone. If Wei Wei Bai wanted to sing, he could sing his most classic songs for her. Everyone knew what a good song meant. Some singers could sing for the rest of their lives with just one popular song. Some even gained status in the entertainment industry because of one popular song. But she didn't need his songs. Her talent was no less than his. Wei Wei Bai was afraid that Oh Jinma would be aroused again, so she immediately got up to get dressed and eat. At noon, Oh Jinma actually fed her some porridge. She thought that it was over, but it turned out that this bastard had never seen a woman in his 8 lifetimes. Thinking about it, it was all a bloody history. After dinner, Oh Jinma naturally cleaned up the table and threw away the trash. Wei Wei Bai's rental apartment was still a little small. When Oh Jinma squeezed in, it was much more crowded. It was also much livelier. The cat squatted in the cat bed and ate obediently. It wasn't that Oh Jinma's big-faced cat was especially obedient. Maybe it was because it was homeless, but it was very grateful that it had a new home. And although Oh Jinma didn't like this big-faced cat, he thought that this guy was his matchmaker, so he reluctantly tolerated its existence. But this cat still looked ugly. After dinner, Oh Jinma held her hand. "Are you tired?" Wei Wei Bai's body was still sore. She was about to nod, but when she saw Oh Jinma's expectant gaze, she didn't dare to say anything. Oh Jinma couldn't hold it in. "I'll give you a massage." Wei Wei Bai, a massage was fine, but why was his gaze so lascivious? Chapter 1219. Wei Wei Bai thought about it, and her gaze turned unfriendly. "Massage my ass." Massage requires physical contact. Once there is physical contact, this guy will be aroused. Moreover, it is nighttime. Can he sleep after a massage? After a day of torment, Wei Wei Bai was also afraid. She immediately said, "I ate too much. I want to go for a walk." Oh Jinma's outstretched hand froze for a moment before retracting it bitterly. Then he quickly pulled out a mask. He put on for Wei Wei Bai. The mask was black. It was his mask, but it was too big. It would slide off if it was hung. Wei Wei Bai returned the mask to Oh Jinma. Then, she searched her clothes and found a dark gray mask. The weather was cold, and the air was not good. Everyone would store a mask. The two public figures consciously put on their masks at the same time. Then, Oh Jinma put on a cap for Wei Wei Bai. Wei Wei Bai might not know it herself, but Oh Jinma knew that she was completely popular. And because she was newly popular, a large number of new fans were still at the most active time. Therefore, if she went out at this time, she would be recognized in minutes. Oh Jinma himself was wearing a hooded sweater. Once the hood was put on, he put on a mask, revealing his light-colored eyes and perfect facial features. The rest of his features were basically gone. This was also Oh Jinma's first time taking his girlfriend for a walk. He was actually a little nervous, because paparazzi and fans often surrounded them. Therefore, Oh Jinma did not like to go out often. The two of them walked out hand in hand. Their clothing styles were similar, and just their backs were pleasing to the eye. Wei Wei Bai and Tong Zi were still looking for a place to go for a date. After all, it was best to go for a walk. Both of them were tired. Oh Jinma, this animal, was exhausted. It was not easy for Tong Zi to find out that the nearby commercial street was a good place for a stroll. There were many couples, and it was very lively. And when she was tired, she could go on a date at a cold drink shop. Wei Wei Bai immediately nodded. In this kind of place, it would be dawn if they spent any time casually. If she hadn't missed Oh Jinma's bedtime, she would have already pressed him into the cat's body. How was he going to deal with animals? Oh Jinma did not have much experience in going out, so he was dragged by Wei Wei Bai to the shopping district. The commercial street was bustling with people. There were neon lights everywhere, and there were also brightly lit shops. The streets were especially lively. However, no one paid special attention to the two of them. Although there were many times when people would turn around to look at them, it was also because this couple was extremely good-looking. Yes, even if the two of them were wearing masks. Her facial features, eyes, and porcelain-like skin were exposed. They all gave people a very beautiful impression. Not to mention, Oh Jinma's model-like figure and Wei Wei Bai's slender figure, but exceptionally well-proportioned back. When the two of them stood together, the onlookers found them pleasing to the eye, and the cameraman, Xiao Wang, who was taking photos of the commercial street, was wiping his lens. Suddenly, he looked up and saw Ojin Ma and Wei Wei Bai. He thought that they looked good, so he raised his camera and took a photo of the two of them from behind. The two of them held hands and stood under the bright lights. The man's face was just turned, his light-colored eyes filled with a gentle smile. He lowered his head and looked at her, as if she was the only one in this world. When Xiao Wang was taking photos, he always focused on the street scenes, and the crowd was just the background for him to take photos of the street scenes. Crossover system, Adonis, come over here. Chapter 12:20. But this time, he was stunned by the photos he took. He couldn't help but pick up his camera and follow them. He suddenly wanted to take photos of this couple. He had never seen a couple so sweet that he could feel the atmosphere just by looking at their backs. It was Ojin Ma's first time shopping with someone. There were crowds everywhere, so he was actually a little nervous. But feeling the warmth of her fingers, he felt happy. His eyes lit up when he saw the other couples holding drinks in their hands. Ojin Ma was like a silly deer that had just entered the city. He immediately led Wei Wei Bai to buy something. When he saw the ice cream cone, he thought of licking it with the tip of her tongue when she ate it. The man immediately blushed and pointed at a large strawberry ice cream cone. I want this. Wei Wei Bai felt that there was something wrong with this guy's gaze when he held the ice cream cone. He couldn't possibly have a head full of dirty thoughts, even when going out on a date. Ojin Ma passed the ice cream cone to Wei Wei Bai. They stood on a flight of stairs with fewer people. At the top of the stairs was a fountain statue. Wei Wei Bai frowned. You eat it. I'm not hungry. Ojin Ma eagerly passed it to her. Eat some. Everyone does this. All other couples did this. Thinking of this, he felt good all over, because they were also a pair of lovers. Ojin Ma was used to the entertainment industry. In fact, his mind was already engraved with the idea of being different. After all, if the entertainment industry didn't have anything special, people would quickly forget about it. But when he was with Wei Wei Bai, he couldn't wait to be like other couples. So what if he was different? It had to be sweet and popular to be happy. Ojin Ma's eyes revealed his desire for happiness. He held the ice cream cone in his hand and passed it to Wei Wei Bai. Wei Wei Bai looked at him helplessly. Then she reached out to take off her mask and lowered her head to eat the ice cream. The ice cream melted quickly. She couldn't help but take a few more bites. As for licking with the tip of her tongue, it didn't exist. She had good teeth and had no problem chewing ice cubes. Furthermore, the tragedy of having his teeth frozen and having no choice but to lick them didn't exist. Ojin Ma stared blankly and saw that half of the ice cream was gone. The way she ate was so cute. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Yes, they were all adorable. Cough, cough. Ojin Ma frowned when she saw that she had finished the ice cream on the top of the cone. He immediately said, I'll eat the rest. If she didn't like ice cream, he wouldn't force her to eat too much. In fact, Wei Wei Bai had no discrimination against ice cream at all. It was just that she had eaten too much for dinner and was too full. Therefore, he wasn't interested in ice cream. Wei Wei Bai nodded. She raised her head, and there was some ice cream on the corner of her lips. Ojin Ma stared blankly for a few seconds. Suddenly, he pulled down his mask, lowered his head, and licked it. She didn't react in time and was licked by him. Ojin Ma felt very sweet. It was so sweet that it seeped into his bones. He smiled, and in the lamplight, his eyes were full of contentment and pleasure. Wei Wei Bai blushed a little. Then, she couldn't help but smile. Xiao Wang only wanted to take a picture of the street. He saw that this couple looked good and took a picture, but he looked at the camera and then at the couple. He felt that they looked very familiar. Although they didn't chase after celebrities, who wouldn't recognize Ojin Ma's face. When he was popular, he was on the streets, on TV, on the news, and on the internet. Unless it was a caveman, everyone would recognize him. Chapter 12:21. Thus, little Wang immediately recognized Ojin Ma after a few seconds. He got excited and glanced at Wei Wei Bai. Wei Wei Bai had just become popular recently. She became popular because of her good songs. Later on, Her entanglement with Haute Jinma made her even more popular. Little Wang's hands were trembling. His wife was a fan of this couple. He immediately searched for a pen and paper. What should he do without paper? Toilet paper? No way. If his wife saw Haute Jinma and Wei Wei Bai's signatures on the toilet paper, she would beat him to death. Wang Daowan's fans couldn't wait to worship this couple. He glanced at his white shirt that was worth more than 1,000 yuan and immediately took it off. Then, he rushed forward with a pen. If he got the signature, he wouldn't have to buy a Chanel bag for his wife's birthday next week. He could save tens of thousands of yuan. Little Wang rushed in front of Haute Jinma and held the white shirt with both hands. Idol, do me a favor and give me an autograph. Haute Jinma wasn't prepared and instinctively pulled Wei Wei Bai behind him. He looked at Little Wang warily. His handsome face made Little Wang speechless for a moment. Comparing a celebrity with a normal person was like killing someone. Not only that, they even pulled him up and whipped his corpse. Little Wang really wanted to put on a mask and ask for an autograph. The photo was also stunning, but when he looked closely, he realized the difference. Haute Jinma pulled up his mask and Wei Wei Bai's mask. You got the wrong person. He knew that if he was recognized, he had to deny it immediately and leave the scene immediately. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good if they were surrounded. The police didn't care about celebrities. Whoever made the public panic would have to go to the police station. Little Wang looked at his Chanel bag. No, his autograph was going to fly away. He almost knelt down. Mo, I'm your fan. I support your relationship with Sister Wei with both hands and feet. I even helped you scold those anti-fans and made love videos for you. I even said love slogans. It was all because of his wife. If he didn't do it, he would have to kneel on the keyboard. His wife only chased after celebrities by shouting slogans. He did the rest of the work. It was not easy for him to become a hardcore fan. Haute Jinma froze at the mention of Mo, although his online fans liked to call him by this nickname. But grown man called him that. He shuddered, goosebumps rising all over his body. However, he heard the fans say that they supported the two of them. Haute Jinma's expression softened. Xiao Wang saw that there was hope, so he immediately held up the shirt and said, "Give me your autographs. I'll cut the candy video for you when I get back tonight." Haute Jinma thought that there would be a few more sweet videos of him and Wei Wei Bai. He immediately took the pen and signed his name in a flamboyant manner. In passing, he also helped by Wei Wei sign her name. Xiao Wang was speechless. Damn, you're signing two people's names? Did you ask your girlfriend? After Haute Jinma signed his name, he said meaningfully, remember to cut a few good-looking videos. I have high hopes for you. With that said, he held Wei Wei Bai's hand and turned to walk up the stairs. There was a fountain at the top, and they could make wishes. Haute Jinma used to think that it was silly, but now that he was with Wei Wei Bai, he felt sweet. The smell of first love filled the air. The air was filled with the smell of strawberries. He smiled as he pulled down half of his mask and ate the rest of the ice cream. As he ate, he smiled at Wei Wei Bai. This smile made Wei Wei Bai feel that something was wrong. Xiao Wang held the shirt and immediately went down the stairs. He couldn't wait to run home and hide. // Chapter 1222. He wanted to give his wife a big surprise next week. This signature was much better than any bag or accessory. He could save some money on his living expenses. But he ran too fast and knocked into a few girls who were shopping with him. The shirt flew out and a girl immediately caught it. Sorry, he stopped halfway through his apology. The girls saw the signature on the shirt. They were silent for a moment and then looked up the stairs. They saw Haute Jinma's handsome face and the back view of him holding a girl's hand. Haute Jinma, Wei Wei Bai. Xiao Wang realized that they were looking at him like wolves and were afraid that they would steal his shirt. He immediately betrayed Haute Jinma. That's Haute Jinma upstairs. If you want an autograph, hurry up. Wei Wei Bai is here too. He immediately reached out and snatched the shirt from them. They were obviously fans. Who knew if they would steal his shirt or the signature on it? Just as he snatched it, the girls screamed and pushed him away. Mo. Sister Wei, my sister Wei. Wang Daowan reporting. I'm Wang Daowan. The three of them, each shouting a different slogan, dashed straight up. Ojima had just finished the last bit of his ice cream cone when he heard a voice that made his hair stand on end. He immediately turned around and saw the girls shouting and running up the stairs. And because of their shouting, the rest of the people heard it too. The shopping street was different from other places. There were a lot of young people, and the more young people there were, the more fans there were. Like a rolling snowball, a group of people suddenly rushed up the stairs. MOMO, Sister Wei, all sorts of names. Ojima cursed in his heart. He pulled Wei Wei by who was still in a daze and rushed up the stairs. His Wei Wei had just become popular and didn't know how scary fans were. He wanted to protect her. Ojima had never felt so noble before. Ojima, I've liked you for 18 years. I've liked you since I was born. Ojima was speechless. It hasn't even been 10 years since he started his career. Are you done talking nonsense for 18 years? MOMO, MOMO, can you not fall in love? You're making me cry so much that my eyes are about to fall out. Ojima, get lost. If you're not a fan of Wang Daowan, I'm going to expel you. Sister Wei, I love you. The songs you sing are so good. Ojima is nothing. You are my faith. The Mabai couple can't be torn apart. If they do, they'll be struck by lightning. Ojima, he finally heard Wang Daowan's voice. He was very pleased. More and more people gathered, surrounding them from top to bottom. Rushing up the stairs was the fountain square. Someone who did not know what was going on saw many people chasing after Ojima and Wei Wei Bai. He was wondering what had happened. They also ran, thinking that they were catching a thief. Ojima's legs were too long. One of his steps was like 3 of hers. Wei Wei Bai's stamina was actually good, but she could not withstand Ojima's 1 step. Suddenly, she sprained her ankle and fell forward. Ojima immediately turned around and picked her up by the waist. He brought her into his broad arms. Wei Wei Bai's face rubbed against his chest, and she could hear his strong heartbeat. Ojima let go of her, turned around, and squatted down. He immediately pulled her onto his back. Ojima, let go of me. You'll be slower if you run like this. Wei Wei Bai was lying on his back. She could feel the strong, bulging muscles on his back from running at such a high speed. Ojima chuckled. I'm happy. This way, the whole world will know that you're mine. Say button at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 1223. He carried the girl on his back and ran forward with a smile on his face. Many of the fans following behind took out their phones to take pictures. It was so sweet. It was a scene of public display of affection. They raised their phones and ran after them. Ojima didn't seem to know fatigue. His breathing was heavy, but his footsteps were not slow. Did they think that he ran every day and trained his body for nothing? All these years of training were for the concert. No, it was for carrying Wei Wei Bai on his back today and running with love. Ojima had never felt that he could be so pretentious. He was experienced in avoiding fans, so he quickly rushed into the alley. In a winding and dark alley, he completely shook off the fans. Then he put Wei Wei down and leaned against the wall, his breathing heavy and disorderly. He tilted his head and looked out of the alley. There was a hint of a smile in his beautiful eyes. It was the first time he was so happy to be surrounded by fans. Maybe it was because he was surrounded with Wei Wei Bai. These were the beautiful experiences he had with her. He shook off the fans. The alley was complicated and many people got lost. No one went deep into this kind of place. Ojima crossed his arms and looked a little proud. He leaned against the wall, his shoes touching the wall casually. Sweat dripped from his messy hair. He stretched out his slender and fair fingers and slowly combed his scattered black hair, revealing his sweaty forehead. Then he turned around and was about to show off to Wei Wei by his ability to shake off fans. But he saw a pair of clear eyes. Wei Wei Bai was already in front of him. She was holding a disposable tissue in her hand. Look down. Ojima looked down blankly. She reached out and gently but earnestly wiped his sweat. Ojima obediently straightened his neck and maintained the posture of letting her wipe his sweat. Wei Wei Bai was done wiping his sweat and threw the tissue into the bin. Ojima blinked and suddenly said, Wei Wei, did I scare you just now? Wei Wei Bai raised her eyes to look at him. There was no fluctuation in her eyes. Her voice was soft and calm. No. Ojima was a little surprised. He knew that this was the first time that Wei Wei Bai had been surrounded by fans. He lowered his head and placed his hand gently on her thin shoulder. Wei Wei, this is my first time dating. Wei Wei Bai looked at him calmly, but there was some gentleness in her eyes. Me too. This is my first date with a girl. Me too. This is the first time I like someone so much. He liked it so much that he couldn't stand it. His voice was low and hesitant, as if he was a little shy, but there was more sincerity in it. Wei Wei Bai watched him lower his head. In the dark night, his amber eyes clearly reflected her figure. His handsome face appeared exceptionally pure because of his gentleness. An angelic appearance, if he didn't show any hostility, would always soften people's hearts. As if she was bewitched, she reached out her hands and touched his cheeks. Ojima, me too. Her voice blended into the night. This was the best voice that Ojima had ever heard. She had already stood on her tiptoes and kissed him. Ding! The male lead's affection has increased to 93. Wei Wei Bai paused as she remembered that her side mission hadn't been completed yet. But Ojima had already wrapped his arms around her waist. His hot breath surrounded her as he deepened the kiss. The system's back was facing them alone. Transmigration system. Male god, come here. Transmigration system. Male god, come here. Transmigration system. Male god, come here and read at https://www. Sashu. Transmigration system. Male god, come here. Transmigration system. Male god, come here. Chapter 1224. Then, when it had nothing to do, it would go online and edit sweet CP videos. Yes, it was also a core fan of CP and was even the group leader. It couldn't eat all the dog food. It had to take revenge. Let's eat together. On the internet, a hungry wolf was howling. Why are you sleeping? Wake up and roar at the moon. A super classic photo was circulating everywhere. A member of the CP called Little Bastard Next Door posted a photo that he had taken in the square. It was accompanied by the caption, "The sweetest couple of the year. Even their hair is sweet with strawberries." The angle of the photo was especially good. It was taken with the back of the square illuminated by the dazzling lights. A corner of the fountain on the stairs could be seen. The man was wearing a gray hoodie. His slender figure was perfect. His mask was casually pulled over his exquisite chin. His beautiful amber eyes reflected a little bit of light. His beautiful side profile was stunning. His thin lips were slightly curved, and his smile was unusually gentle. His fair and slender fingers were holding a strawberry-colored ice cream cone. A beautiful girl lowered her head. Her hair was tied up in a bun. Some strands of hair fell down and landed on her white cheeks. She bit on the ice cream cone. Her cheeks were slightly puffed up like a little hamster's. She was so cute that it was unbearable. Wei Wei Bai's appearance was extremely delicate. It was the kind of appearance that was suitable for both young and old. When she was quiet, she was very obedient. When she stood next to Ojinma, they were like a young high school couple. These two people's appearance just happened to be the kind that couldn't be tarnished. Therefore, Ojinma's female fans were slowly won over by Wang Daowan. From MOMO, if you're in a relationship, I'll cry my eyes out for you. Whatever CP, I'll cry my eyes out for you. To Aya, Mom, you're so cute. How can you be so cute? These two cuties are so sweet standing together. The principle of fragrance became the tag of Ojinma's fans this year. Wei Wei Bai's fans also changed from "you're all bootlickers" to "sisters. Are there any more candies today?" The expressions of the fans on both sides changed instantly. If there's candy, let's eat it together. Who has edited a Dojin video or written a Dojin cookie? Hurry up and share it. Wei Wei Bai had not released a single album. With the help of these classic songs and Ojima, the number of fans successfully soared by over 10 million. On the other hand, Ojima did not lose any fans. Instead, he attracted even more fans. These fans were just passers-by. Although they liked Ojinma's songs, they weren't loyal fans. But because he was in a relationship, she became one of his loyal fans. The higher-ups of Sanxing were practically kneeling as they watched how this couple dominated the entire traffic on the internet. Didn't they say that their public relationship would collapse at any moment? What happened to losing fans? Oh Jima had created another terrifying miracle. As for Wei Wei Bai, she was someone that Sanxing couldn't wait to worship. Because no matter which woman he was in a relationship with, there would never be such a national phenomenon. Only Wei Wei Bai could. All the employees of Sanxing had collectively become members of the Wang Dao team. They began to edit videos, write doujis, and draw doujis. After all, if this couple continued to be together, Sanxing stock would definitely climb up. While the entire internet was celebrating, a pair of venomous eyes stared fixedly at the strawberry-flavored picture on the internet. Jiang Rou's eyes were extremely vicious. She glanced at her account. There was more money in it than before. Chapter 1225. Because she had sold her jewelry, branded bags, and clothes. That was why she had earned some money recently. Jiang La's face was cold, and she was no longer in the mood to take care of her nails. She pointed and said, "Why are you so useless? You can't even take care of Ojin Ma and let other women take advantage of you." In the past, when Ojin Ma was good to them, although Jiang La had thought of treating Ojin Ma as her son-in-law, but this was related to her cheating, so this matter was put on hold. But now it was different. Ojin Ma obviously had no kinship. The only way to make Ojin Ma turn back was for Jiang Rou to be bold enough to chase Ojin Ma back. Younger sisters were useless, but women were always useful. After all, Jiang Rou was only a little less talented in singing and songwriting, but she was able to stay in the entertainment industry for so long and achieve good results. Her face still played an important role. Jiang La felt that as long as her daughter was willing to take it off, she didn't believe that little brat, Ojin Ma, wouldn't be moved. After all, men were all the same. Jiang Rou didn't respond. She took a deep breath and said, "Mom, only by completely ruining Wei Wei Bai's reputation and making it impossible for her to be with Ojin Ma will I have a chance." She didn't know how to say that she had already taken it off, but she was thrown out by Ojin Ma's security guards. That was a humiliation. Just thinking about it made her heart bleed. Jiang La said, "Oh, I'm sleepy. You do it yourself. Tell me when you've gotten rid of Wei Wei Bai." She yawned lazily and went to sleep without any sense of crisis. After Jiang La left, Jiang Rou reached out and picked up the cup beside her and smashed it on the ground. Both of them were trash. None of them could help her and would only drag her down. Jiang Rou looked at the photo on the internet. It was Wei Wei Bai's cute and beautiful face. Wasn't she just a little pure-looking? Why did he suddenly approve of her? The fans were a bunch of opportunists who changed the rudder according to the wind. They didn't have any opinions of their own. They should have boycotted Wei Wei Bai. Jiang Rou turned on her communicator and began to contact the leader of the anti-fans. Slander her and ruin Wei Wei Bai's reputation. Didn't she blackmail me for plagiarizing her songs? Regardless of whether everyone believes it or not, she has no evidence to prove that the song is hers. Jiang Rou laughed sinisterly. All the manuscripts were burned by her. Wei Wei Bai couldn't produce any evidence that she was the one who wrote the song Qin Lian. Jiang Rou commanded the Navy. "You must insist that this is Wei Wei Bai's unscrupulous means to create hype. She's clinging on to my popularity and refusing to let go." Soon, a large number of negative comments from the Internet Water Army appeared on the Internet. "Are you all blind? How can a Black Lotus who successfully created hype be with MOMO? That's right. We still remember that 2 months ago, Wei Wei Bai framed Jiang Rou for plagiarism. Wei Wei Bai is trash, pretending to be pure. Shameless. I found evidence of Wei Wei Bai's plastic surgery. Compare the photos from a year ago with the photos now. Then there were a bunch of ugly Photoshopped photos. There was also a better-looking photo. They tried to brainwash the fans. Wei Wei Bai was a plastic surgery freak. The anti-fans didn't hesitate to fabricate lies for the sake of money. They simply described Wei Wei Bai as a scheming B*TCH, a white lotus, disgusting and creating hype for the sake of fame. Then, the anti-fans unified their statements. Wei Wei Bai is not good enough for the little angel. Mo has been deceived by her. Everyone boycott her. Chapter 1226. The internet trolls were very powerful. This was what they did for a living. They knew how to post, attract attention, and brainwash people. If someone retorted, they would be even happier. Because of the popularity, the post would earn more money. Ojima did not go online. He was still writing songs with Wei Wei Bai. The third round of good songs was about to begin. After the third round, it would be the finals of the top 8. The results of the third round would determine the position of the next round. So when Ojima saw Wei Wei Bai's lazy look, he immediately pulled her to start revising the score. She was talented and her songs were classic. That was why she could get through so easily. But other than her good songs and good looks, her stage effects were so bad that it made Ojima frown. Of course, his wife disliked it. He would beat up anyone who disliked it. Forget about the guitar. Don't think that you can complete the entire show with just a guitar. The audience needs something exciting. You can't be the same. Actually, the songs were good. Wei Wei Bai's talent in writing songs could really make her the champion. But Ojima had high expectations. He started to correct her posture on stage. When you sing, sometimes you have to look at the camera and pretend that the camera is me. Smile sweetly, and the votes will definitely increase. Half of the results of the third round came from the audience's votes. This was specially done for good songs to gain popularity. Ojima's stage effects were of the best in the world. He taught her step by step how to sing on stage, how to walk, how to look up, how to interact with people. Wei Wei Bai's attitude was more relaxed. She supported her chin with one hand and looked at Ojima with a gentle gaze. She nodded no matter what he said. Ojima saw her like this and was afraid that she did not know how to do it. He pulled her up and said, "Come, you can occasionally have more body movements. Lean on me. I'll hold you and teach you a few simple movements." Ojima's expression turned serious. His eyes, which usually carried a layer of indifference and gentleness, turned dark. He held her hand and placed it on his chest. During the break between songs, your wrist should be about this far away from me. This is the best pose. Wei Wei Bai frowned as if she was thinking about the distance. But in the next second, this man had already led her around half a circle. Her footsteps followed his movements at random. Ojima lowered her head, her eyelashes almost touching her forehead. His voice was hoarse and deep, like a cello, with a natural bewitching feeling. This is the most natural action of transitioning the note. It has to be very calm and relaxed to achieve this effect. Then, without waiting for Bai Wei Wei to react, he grabbed her waist with one hand and suddenly bent over. Wei Wei Bai was pressed down by him. Her body leaned back, and her long hair fell down. Although her flexibility was not bad, she was not a dancer, so this posture was a bit strenuous. Look, you don't have a foundation in dancing. You can't even do such simple movements. Ojima pretended to frown in disdain, but suddenly lowered his head and kissed her lips. "But it's okay, I'll carry you." Wei Wei Bai blushed. She gritted her teeth and said, "Ojima, are you taking advantage of me or teaching me?" Ojima's skin was so thick that it was impossible to see through his thick skin. "I'm seriously teaching you how to take advantage of me." Then he lowered his head and kissed her again. In this position, she could not struggle at all and could only be held in his arms. He had a good foundation in dancing, and when he did many of the movements, he could control Wei Wei Bai so that she had no room to escape. To read the at https://www.sashu.com/ to read at https://www.sashu.com to read at https://www.sashu.com to read at https://m.sashu.com. Chapter 1227. Ojima looked at her exposed neck and couldn't help but kiss her. Wei Wei Bai was very sensitive to this part of the body. She only felt that Ojima's kiss was a little cold, and it made her tremble. He chuckled softly, and his breath brushed against her neck. It made it even harder for her to suppress her trembling. Ojima, let go of me. Ojima didn't make things difficult for her. After all, it was very difficult for someone who didn't have dance skills to keep leaning back. He pulled her up and put her on the bed. Come home with me. It's not safe to keep staying here. The bed was too small, so Wei Wei Bai sat on it. He half squatted by the bed and rested his head on her lap, as if he was still a cat. Wei Wei Bai thought for a while and felt that she had to solve Su Yehuan's side mission. If she stayed at Ojinma's house, then the chances of seeing Su Yehuan would be even lower. She didn't have a clue about other people's little secrets. So Wei Wei Bai resisted looking at Ojinma's longing eyes. She placed a hand on his hair and rubbed it, saying, "I'll think about it after the singing competition." Her tone was calm, but there was a hint of awkwardness in it. The longing in Ojinma's eyes was replaced by disappointment. A thin layer of mist appeared in his eyes, and he actually looked very pitiful and innocent. It was all an act. Although Wei Wei Bai knew that it was all an act, she still felt guilty when she saw his gaze. Why did she feel like she was bullying a pitiful and helpless animal? Indeed, he was a talent to be able to maintain his angelic persona for so many years. This gaze was simply a weapon to arouse a woman's maternal instincts. Wei Wei Bai felt that their relationship couldn't be so easily accepted. Besides the fact that she was too perfect, it was also because Ojima had a lot of mommy fans. Mother fans were different from girlfriend fans. They doted on Ojima more. Therefore, when he got a girlfriend, they would give him their blessings. They could not wait for him to get married and have someone to take care of him. She discussed her thoughts with the system. The system was silent for 3 seconds. If you can get rid of the "you're too perfect" part, that's a good point of view. Narcissism was narcissism. Why do you keep talking about it every day? If you have the guts, then keep a low profile and be narcissistic. In this day and age, it was no longer popular to have a main character who was full of narcissism and had a perfect Mary Sue temperament. If the host continues to be like this, there will be no more universal love. The two people were bored for a while, and Ojinma saw by Wei Wei yawn. Only then did he get up and let her sleep. Then, he tucked her in and gave her a good-night kiss. "I'll pick you up tomorrow morning to take you to the competition. Have a good rest." He also wanted to spend the night on the floor. He wanted to climb onto the bed and hug her even more. However, this small bed was really not enough space. When he was pestering her during the day, he was relying on his own physical fitness. He almost rolled out of bed several times. Moreover, he could not sleep on the floor because he was afraid that he would disturb her rest. The place was small, so it was inconvenient. Ojinma watched as she closed her eyes and fell asleep. When he got up, the phone in his pocket suddenly vibrated. He was afraid that he would disturb Wei Wei Bai, so his phone was set to vibrate. Ojima casually picked it up and looked at it. After a moment of silence, he reached out and gently touched her hair. "Good night, my little angel." After he met her, he did not need to set up an angel persona, because she was his angel. Ojima took the phone, opened the door, and personally checked the door lock. / Chapter 1228. After confirming that there was no problem, he turned his head slightly. The smile on his face had disappeared. "Guard this place well. Call me if anything happens." A few bodyguards who had been hiding in the corner responded softly. Ojima walked out with relief. He went down the stairs and arrived in front of his car. He sat in the car and turned on his phone again. There was a message from the higher-ups of Sanqing saying that someone was defaming Wei Wei Bai. There was no other information, just a simple notice. The gentle expression on Ojinma's face towards Wei Wei Bai disappeared. He stretched out his fingers expressionlessly and opened Weibo. Then he leaned against the seat and started to read the messages one by one. "Wei Wei Bai, you fucking destroyed your image as a white lotus flower. Don't you have any shame for seducing MOMO? You don't even have an album, and you still want to be on par with Ojinma? Your face is bigger than the Pacific Ocean. Those trashy songs about confessions and the power of love. You bought the data, right? I'm an anonymous insider. I bought the data. You even accused Jiang Ro of stealing your songs. Will you die if you don't become popular? Which of your lousy songs are better than love? Many of them were professional ghostwriters, and they were the kind that specialized in defaming fans. Ojima lowered his eyes. He gripped his phone tightly, and the veins on the back of his hand popped out. He slowly raised his head. The street lights shone on the car window. His perfect side profile was reflected in a halo, and there was a kind of frozen beauty. But this kind of beauty had a murderous aura. His amber eyes were full of hostility. Ojima started the car, and the street lights swept past him quickly. He suddenly hummed a song softly. This was a song he had written before. This song was not eye-catching among so many popular songs, because the tune and the lyrics were darker. Angel in the Dark Night. He used a lot of metaphors. Other than himself, no one could hear the violence in his song. He had pretended to be an obedient child for too many years, a good angel. Occasionally, he would want to vent, except when he went to the supermarket to steal instant noodles. Just write a few rebellious songs. The song began, "You are the angel of the night, and also the devil." Wrong. How could there be an angel in the dark night? Only demons. Ojima's car sped out. His expression was cold and a little crazy. His voice was cold as he hummed a devil's song. Unexpectedly, it appeared abnormally cold and terrifying. With a whoosh, the car stopped right outside Jiangro's door, although he told them to get out of the house. However, he had forgotten to send someone to chase them away, so these two hypocritical women were still living there. Ojima walked directly to the door, stretched out his hand, and pressed the lock. His fingerprints on the lock were of the highest level, and no one could change them. As expected, the door opened. The quality of the door was very good. There was no sound of the door opening. Usually, at this time, there would be a housekeeper. However, because Ojima did not give them any living expenses, no one knew that Ojima had walked in. He heard sounds coming from Jiangro's room. Ojima started to wear gloves. It was a pair of gloves that he kept in his car. Usually, if he wanted to change to a motorcycle, he would only wear black gloves when he changed to a motorcycle. These gloves were made of leather, thick and hard. He looked at his hands calmly and moved them as if nothing had happened. He was worried that when he could not control himself later, he would hit someone and dirty his hands. With one look, he knew who the mastermind of this water army was, because he knew all the higher-ups of the ghostwriters. Chapter 12:29. When he made a phone call in the car, just now, he had obtained the chat information between Jiangro and the paid commenters. Jiangro hated Wei Wei Bai to the core. When he saw the chat, the only bit of sympathy he had for his biological sister disappeared. One evil woman. She didn't deserve to be his sister. Ojima walked to the door, which was half open. He was about to push it open when he heard Jiang La raise her voice. "You spent so much money to hire the paid commenters to slander Wei Wei Bai. Why didn't you give me some money to buy makeup? I don't even have enough lipstick." Then Jiang said impatiently, "That's enough. Mom, you don't know how to do anything other than spend my money. I'm really doing something serious. If Wei Wei Bai is still around, when can I be with my brother?" Ojima. Disgusting. Pervert. How could someone have such feelings for his brother? To him, this was unimaginable. If Wei Wei Bai was his sister, he wouldn't have. Stop. He seemed to be a pervert too. If he put himself in Wei Wei Bai's shoes, he would love her even if she was a clam, let alone a sister. So is there a genetic abnormality in his family? You're still calling him brother, you little hussy. You're so excited when you call him brother. He's not even your biological brother. Jiang La said casually. Jiang Ro became impatient. If he's not my biological brother, I won't give birth to a retard. Anyway, Ojima won't know. He's not related to me by blood, so I can't let him know now. I haven't successfully chased Wei Wei Bai away. I can only tell him after I've chased her away and we're close. She wasn't a fool. Once they were close, it would be icing on the cake to say that they weren't biological siblings. If she told him now, Ojima would have no qualms about ditching them all. She wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Moreover, everyone knew that they were biological siblings. If Ojima really did not care about her in the end, she went online to smear Ojima's reputation. How could he abandon his own sister? He was worse than a beast. This was much easier to smear than Wei Wei Bai. Jiangro turned on her computer and watched the trolls on Weibo wantonly smear Wei Wei Bai's reputation. She sneered, and from time to time, she would open a side account and tag along with them. I want that be asterisk TCH, Wei Wei Bai, to have no face left in the entertainment industry. Suddenly, she heard the sound of the door opening. She couldn't help but turn around fiercely. Didn't I say not to come in? After scolding her, she came back to her senses and found that all the nannies and aunties had been fired. How could someone push open the door and enter? She took a closer look and saw that familiar figure, but her whole body turned cold. Jinma's expression was indifferent. As he walked, he adjusted his black gloves. They were bare knuckles. His fair fingertips were exceptionally beautiful. His light-colored eyes were cold and calm as he glanced at them indifferently. Then he walked slowly in front of Jiangro. Say that again. Jiangro's face turned pale. Brother, Jinma slowly stretched out his index finger and pressed it against his beautiful lips, making a hush sound. We're not biological siblings. Don't try to claim that we're relatives. Jiangro trembled all over. Indeed, he had heard it. This house was under Jinma's name. It was just for them to live in. Hence, the fingerprint lock and the highest authority was set by Jinma. They had no right to change it. But because Jinma had too many properties, they thought that he would never use this house for the rest of his life. That was why they were so unscrupulous. They even forgot that Jinma could come and go freely in this house. /save button at the bottom to record your reading record. Chapter 1230. Jinma revealed a mocking smile. His eyes were dark and gloomy. Say it again. What you said just now. Jiangro's mind went blank in fear. What did she say just now? How could she know what Jinma wanted her to say with so many words? The last sentence. Jinma's words could even be considered gentle, but it was extremely cold. Jiangro then remembered her last sentence. Her voice trembled as she said, "No, brother, you misunderstood." Jinma narrowed his eyes filled with a dangerous cold light. Say it. Jiangro could only say helplessly, "I want to let Wei Wei Bai, that be asterisk." Just as she said the word, be asterisk tch, Jinma had already kicked her. What did it mean that a man couldn't hit a woman? He had never had such morals. After lying to him for so many years, he had sacrificed so much like a fool. It was fine. He didn't care. He would just treat it as feeding a dog. But he couldn't think of touching Wei Wei Bai. Touching his wife was equivalent to wanting his life. A life for a life. Why couldn't he defend himself when someone wanted to kill him? Jiangro fell to the ground. Jiangla immediately ran over and protected her as she scolded. Jinma, even if she isn't your biological sister, is your relationship all these years fake? How can you hit her? Jinma looked at them coldly. He smiled and suddenly smashed the computer screen next to him with his fist. Leather gloves protected his fingers. The glass shards smashed on the keyboard and splashed onto Jiangro's face. Blood appeared on Jiangro's face. She immediately covered her face with her hands in horror. My face, my face. Her face was the only thing left that she could do. Jinma was expressionless. He didn't even bother to look up. He took out his phone and called his assistant. Send a bodyguard over. I have some personal matters to attend to. Then he hung up the phone and called the moving company. Sent a few more cars. There's a lot of rubbish. Jinma casually sat on a chair and crossed his long legs. He didn't have any emotions. His beautiful eyes were like glass beads, reflecting a clear light, but made people feel oppressed for no reason. Jiangro immediately knew what he wanted to do when she heard his instructions. Brother, don't chase me away. I was wrong. She immediately pounced over and wanted to hug his leg. However, Jinma kicked her. He really didn't want to touch this woman. It was disgusting. Just now, he wanted to hit her with his fist, but when he saw her face, he was stunned and didn't hit her. It was too disgusting. If he hit her, it'd dirty her. He didn't want to directly kick her. Anyway, there were many shoes. He could throw them directly into the rubbish bin. Jiangro felt that her bones were about to break. She howled in pain, and tears flowed down her face. However, the man in front of her casually crossed his arms and looked at the door with his head tilted. It was as if he found her an eyesore. Jiang Ro was indignant. I've been with you for so many years. Haven't you ever been moved by me? Ojima finally turned around and sneered. What right does a piece of rubbish like you have to move my heart? He didn't say that Jiang Ro was a pervert. After all, he had feelings for Wei Wei Bai. If someone suddenly announced that Wei Wei Bai was his sister, he would probably be a pervert too. Of course, Ojima refused to think about such a strange question. He said coldly, Been with me for so many years? I'm talking about being your ATM machine for so many years. // Chapter 1231. He had never really let her into his life. Material things were the best isolator. When she started to take advantage of him without limit material things, he could only treat her as an ordinary relative who didn't have deep feelings for him. He just felt that although she was vain, her heart was still pure. Now that she revealed the darkness in her heart, he felt disgusted. He was disgusted that such a poisonous snake was lurking around him. If it wasn't for Wei Wei Bai's appearance, he would have become a strange cat, with his lazy appearance that basically didn't care about anything. It was only when Jiang Ro did something big that he could discover her true character. Ojima thought of the days when he was Wei Wei Bai's cat. His eyes softened for a moment, then recovered by coldness again. The assistant rushed over with the bodyguards. Ojima took the initiative to ask for a bodyguard. Usually it was for something important. He was afraid that something would happen at Sanqing's most precious treasure, so he couldn't wait to drive a race car over. The bodyguards rushed into the house. Ojima said coldly, Tie them up. Jiang Ro and Jiang La's faces turned pale. What are you doing? The bodyguards took out a cloth very skillfully, stuffed it into their mouths, and tied them up with a rope. The people from the moving company also came. Ojima frowned and said to them, Move all the furniture and miscellaneous things in the house and burn them. Don't leave anything behind. He was disgusted. After dealing with these two women, he still wanted to sell this house. What the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve over. He would never stay in the place where they had stayed before. The people from the moving company were very professional and immediately moved. Jiang Ro saw her expensive clothes, bags, and some jewelry that she couldn't bear to sell. They were all thrown into the truck by the moving company as garbage. Her heart was about to break. She stared at Ojima, but couldn't say a word. The wardrobe, TV cabinet, solid wood tables, and chairs were all moved out one by one. They said that they wanted to move everything out, so even the cleaning staff came. They were waiting to start cleaning after moving everything out. This house would soon become a clean and empty house. All traces of Jiang Ro and Jiang La's lives would disappear. Ojima stood up and asked the movers to move the sofa out. Then, he slowly pulled out his gloves, revealing his slender white fingers. He did not look at Jiang Ro. Instead, he said to his assistant, Go and check what they have been doing all these years. Also, check Jiang Ro's old lover. Whose child is Jiang Ro? In the past, he had thought that they were related by blood. He even wanted to let her off. He was too lazy to investigate what had happened to Jiang Ro and Jiang La all these years. If he really wanted to take it seriously, it was impossible for them not to be tainted at all. The assistant looked at Jiang Ro with a serious expression. When he heard that Jiang Ro was his daughter, he understood. He had been with Ojima for so many years. Ojima did not do anything, so he had to do most of the work. The assistant immediately asked someone to take Jiang Ro and Jiang La away. They had to be locked up temporarily. Ojima gave the gloves to his assistant. Throw them in the trash can. Then, he walked out and went straight home. If there was still Jiang Ro's stolen songs at home, Ojima sent the job offer to his assistant and asked him to start fighting back against the comments that were smearing Wei Wei Bai on the internet. Although the internet trolls had stopped smearing, but the malicious storm that they brought did not stop. Some people who were hidden on the internet and didn't like anyone were also holding on to these unfounded pieces of black material. They began to smear Wei Wei Bai everywhere. To read the full article at https://www.sashu.com//. To read on your at https://m/sashu.com. Chapter 1232. Anyway, they didn't care if it was true or not, as long as it made them happy. Under the crazy suppression of the Internet Water Army, the fans tried their best to refute. However, Weiwei Bai's Weibo couldn't deny it. Whether Zhang Rou's first song was stolen or not, there was no evidence to prove it. Therefore, those comments seized this point and tried their best to slander Weiwei Bai and frame Zhang Rou. Trolls. Is there any evidence to prove that Zhang Rou's Qing Lian was stolen? No, so Weiwei Bai is framing her. Fans, but Qing Lian's style is indeed similar to Weiwei Bai's style. Zhang Rou also has a history of plagiarism. Bar spirit. If Qing Lian really plagiarized, then asked by Weiwei to come up with evidence. If she really is the original author, there should be the original manuscript, right? She's framing people for no reason. Fans, there was no way to refute this. Without evidence, even if it was stolen, they couldn't just accuse someone of stealing the song. When the trolls saw that the fans were scared, they immediately became arrogant. If it was really stolen, it would have been exposed long ago. Weiwei Bai doesn't have evidence, and she wants to be popular, so she framed Zhang Rou. Weiwei Bai has the guts to show evidence that Qing Lian is hers. If Qing Lian was stolen by Zhang Rou, I'll eat my keyboard live. After the Internet Water Army retreated, it was the haters who tried their best to perform. After all, not everyone liked to eat candy. Some people liked to stir up shit. They were happy to see who was unlucky. The fans were speechless. They were so aggrieved that they wanted to bleed. Suddenly, Sanqing's official website posted an apology on Weibo. It was an apology to Weiwei Bai. Due to the company's negligence, Weiwei Bai's song Qing Lian was stolen by Zhang Rou from our company. Sanqing will take full responsibility and terminate the contract with Zhang Rou, never to renew it. Then, there was a series of official words about compensation and an apology in the newspaper. Along with the official Weibo post, Zhang Rou's recording was released. It's true that I stole this song. At that time, Weiwei Bai trusted me, so I asked her to show me the original manuscript and she gave it to me. There was no trace of guilt in Zhang Rou's voice. Instead, there was a hint of smugness in his eyes. After I copied the song, I burned the original manuscript. It was a conversation between Jinma and Zhang Rou. Moreover, although Zhang Rou said that she wanted to apologize, her attitude was still so casual and insincere. It was obvious that he was patronizing Jinma. It was only a short recording, but it was enough to reveal Zhang Rou's true colors. She was a real green tea bitch with a scheming mind. To gain Weiwei Bai's trust, he stole her song and burned the original manuscript. Jinma's voice could also be heard. In this recording, one could even hear that Jinma was extremely angry. Little Angel's fans were relieved. Jinma did not collude with Zhang Rou just because she was his sister. Jinma posted on Weibo in the middle of the night. I've never been so sad and angry. From the moment I found out that Zhang Rou stole, she was no longer my sister. This Weibo post made the fans very sad. They felt that Zhang Rou had hurt Jinma's heart. They started to post on Weibo to comfort him. And Zhang Rou's Weibo post had already reached a new height of criticism. Who wants to eat keyboards live? Come out and eat. If you don't have keyboards, I'll send you 10,000 keyboards. My family does keyboards wholesale. Zhang Rou, I was blind to be your fan for so many years. Even when you were accused of plagiarism, I didn't stop being your fan. Now, I'm completely an anti-fan. Chapter 1233. You still owe Sister Wei an apology. Come out and apologize. Don't play dead. You're definitely the most disgusting celebrity I've ever been a fan of. There was another bloody storm on Weibo in the middle of the night. Jinma posted on Weibo. Then he called his assistant and said, "Release the evidence bit by bit." I want to completely expose Red Ginger LA's affair. Didn't they want to be famous? Ojima put down his phone, his eyes cold. Let them be famous enough. Not only would they expose that Jiang La had an affair, but Jiang Ro wasn't their biological daughter. They would also say that they had suppressed newcomers all these years and use his name to do bad things. They would even sign all kinds of contracts that would harm the company. They would also use his trust to rob him of all kinds of international resources, take bribes, and so on. This pair of mother and daughter vampires had benefited a lot from him over the years, but it was still not enough for them to spend. Ojima felt so disgusted that he almost choked. He closed his eyes, looking a little tired. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and picked up his phone again. He sent a text message. I knew you were asleep, so I didn't want to wake you up. I just wanted to tell you. I became a hero once, just for you. He made Jiang Ro admit to stealing, made the netizens slap their own faces, and made the water army retreat in fear. Let everyone know that she didn't have any black marks. Even if she did, she was wronged. Ojima felt that even if he was as scheming as a demon, he was still a cute demon. Ding! The male lead's favorability has increased to 94. Wei Bai heard the notification and her face drooped. I didn't provoke him. Why did the favorability increase again? The system had just returned from eating melons on the internet. It picked its teeth and said, love makes people blind. That's why the favorable impression points increased. This was too casual. Wei Bai wanted to roll her eyes, but she wasn't familiar with her body, so she didn't succeed. She reached out her claws and wiped her mouth. It was just an instinctive reaction. Yes, she was now a cat with a big face. It was the one that Ojima was wearing. She happily ran through the endless night and found Su Yedwan's home. His window was open, and she jumped easily into his house. The lights in Su Yedwan's house were still on. Why aren't you sleeping in the middle of the night? To find out Su Yedwan's secret, Wei Bai had no choice but to turn into a cat and spy on her. Little secret, little secret. He had a little secret. Wei Bai hummed a song in her heart as she carefully hid in the corner of the living room table. As long as Su Yetian didn't come to wipe the table in the middle of the night, she basically wouldn't be seen. This was the first time Wei Bai had turned into a cat. She felt a little weird. Everything seemed to have become bigger, and she couldn't help but want to use the cat's paws to wash her face. This damn bad habit. The cat's face was big, and its paws were small. Washing it did not feel good. Wei Bai bit her paw. She couldn't wash her face anymore. She stared with her round cat eyes. Whenever she saw something round, she wanted to touch it. Occasionally, when something swayed, she wanted to pounce over and grab it. This was a scary cat reaction. What was even scarier was that she couldn't help but open her mouth to meow. The system had held back its laughter a few times. She wanted to laugh too, so she couldn't blame anyone else. She held back her urge to act cute and squatted down, refusing to run around. Suddenly, she heard light footsteps. Cat ears were better than human ears. She heard the faint sound of the carpet shaking. Slash. Chapter 1234. Wei Bai stretched out its head and carefully peeked out to take a look. It saw Su Yedwan walking out of the bathroom barefooted with a bathrobe draped over his shoulders, his short hair wet. Dr. Su was handsome and his body was well-proportioned and strong. Although Ojima's incredible looks were closed, he was considered a handsome man among normal people. Wei Bai tried hard to think about their interactions. There seemed to be nothing wrong with him, except for him chasing after her. But she was so charming. There seemed to be nothing wrong with a man chasing after her. Vivian, who is narcissistic out of the universe, thought deeply for a while. She still felt that there was nothing wrong with Su Yedwan, whether it was his medical ethics, temperament, or personality. It was much better than Ojima, at least in terms of tolerance and self-cultivation. Compared to Ojima with black sesame fillings, it was more polite and civilized. What kind of secret was this man hiding? Wei Bai said, does he have body odor? The system said, wrong guess. Wei Bai said, does he have a fetish for cross-dressing and likes to wear stockings at home? The system said, do you see him wearing them? The white cat looked out, then shrunk back and said sadly, no, meow, meow. The system said, "Fuck, don't use such an ugly cat face to act cute." It was going to call the police. Su Yedwan sat on the sofa. He did not watch TV or eat supper. He just sat there in a daze. The expression on his face was very complicated. There was sadness. There was struggle and annoyance. He looked like he was suffering from some kind of lovesickness. He was in love, but could not say it. Some kind of inspiration faintly appeared. But Wei Wei Bai still did not get the main point. She waited silently. Suddenly, she heard crying. Wei Wei Bai, ? She carefully poked her head out and saw Su Yedwan holding his phone. Then he lowered his head and cried silently. Wei Wei Bai was excited. There was a chance. Could it be that he had some secret that he could not say? So he could only cry in his own living room in the middle of the night? That phone must have the little secret she wanted. Su Yedwan endured silently. Her eyes were red and tears kept flowing. He suddenly said fiercely, "I really want to kill you." Wei Wei Bai trembled and her ears grew long. Be angry and explode. Don't pretend when you're alone. Just yell out your little secret. Su Yedwan stood up abruptly and threw the phone in her hand away. His voice was filled with pain. "Why do you have to torture me like this?" Wei Wei Bai. This line was a little familiar. It felt like a tragic portrayal of a person with a crush. Wei Wei Bai saw the phone fall to the corner of the table, right under her cat paws. The phone screen was still lit up. It was a group photo. It was Oh Jinma and her. However, in this photo, because she was at the back, the pixels were a little blurry. On the other hand, Oh Jinma's exquisite face was extremely clear. Bai Weiwei blinked, somewhat at a loss. This, Su Yedwan was looking at a photo of them. No, in this photo, Oh Jinma was clearer. Why are you stomping your feet and cursing at Oh Jinma? Could it be that the little secret was Wei Wei Bai was shocked? Could it be that Oh Jinma had an affair with Su Yedwan, and Oh Jinma let her down? The system had thought of the answer earlier, but when it saw the innocent face of the host, it didn't think of the key point at all. It felt nostalgic. This innocent and cute host was rarely seen, so it didn't remind it. But it was wrong. The host was too innocent. Slash. Chapter 1235. It had only guessed that Su Yedwan had a crush on Oh Jinma, but Wei Wei Bai's first words were a melodramatic love story. Big boss, it couldn't compare. Wei Wei Bai's cat face was very strange. Although she didn't discriminate against men, she didn't have any contact with them. Indeed, she didn't discriminate against men. Therefore, she did not have such a concept at all. As a result, she had never associated Su Yedwan with Oh Jinma in her mind. When Wei Wei Bai thought about it this way, she felt that there were loopholes everywhere. Su Yedwan knew that she had something to do with Oh Jinma. When she first entered the hospital, Oh Jinma had come to see her. That was why Su Yedwan had approached her and wanted to date her. Actually, it was all because he knew that through her, he could get to know Oh Jinma. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that Su Yedwan was a scheming little bitch. He was really good at hiding things. Step by step, he used his identity as a man to win her over. This way, he could get Oh Jinma's attention. If he succeeded, he could break her and Oh Jinma apart. Then, if the two of them succeeded in holding hands, Su Yedwan would take revenge and dump her, making her suffer so much that she wanted to die, killing many birds with one stone. Good plan, good plan. Wei Wei Bai's eyes showed a trace of admiration. After so long, he didn't reveal any loopholes. If she hadn't turned into a cat, she would have missed out on this despicable little secret of his. Wei Wei Bai smiled proudly. She was indeed smart. Then, just as she was about to open her mouth and tell the system about this secret, she felt that something was wrong. Suddenly, she felt that something was wrong. Why were the lights dimmed? She looked up and saw Su Yedwan bending over to pick up her phone. His face was facing the fan at the corner of the table, and his face was right in front of hers. The man and the cat were very quiet. Su Yedwan looked at her coldly. There was no gentleness in his eyes at all. Wei Wei Bai trembled. This guy can't be thinking of killing the cat to silence her, right? The system trembled as well. Su Yetian had left so quickly that it hadn't been able to react in time. Wei Wei Bai immediately said, "Let's change back." The system was shocked. You just let go of the innocent and pitiful big-faced cat and run away like that? You're too mean. Wei Wei Bai said, "It's okay. Cats have 9 lives. Even if you die once, you still have 8 more lives." To survive, he betrayed his cat teammate and even shamelessly said such words. Sure enough, it was still that familiar host. The system had no choice but to reveal the truth. Before your body wakes up, you can't change back. Wei Wei Bai, when will my body wake up? The system said, you know, Jima have been going at it for so long, showing off your love on the streets and even running for a while. Your body probably needs 6 to 7 hours of sleep. This was because Wei Wei Bai was in good health, and she had to participate in the competition the next day. So there was an alarm clock. Wei Wei Bai grimaced. This unreliable system. She was stuck in the crack of the table. When Su Yedwan saw her, he was silent for a long time with a gloomy face. She had nowhere to run, so she could only stare at him with her round cat eyes. Wei Wei Bai seemed to see a complicated emotion in his eyes. She asked the system, Su Yedwan likes that little vixen Ojima. He won't vent his anger on Big Face Cat, right? After all, she was the one who raised Big Face Cat. If Su Yedwan got angry, he would probably stew her. The system said, it's okay. Cat meat isn't delicious. He won't eat you. This consolation was equivalent to nothing. Su Yedwan's hand had already reached over, and he grabbed Wei Wei Bai's neck. Wei Wei Bai couldn't move at all. She could only obediently let him carry her to the sofa. // Chapter 1236. She finally knew how Ojinma felt when she was carrying him. Bai Weiwei's claws had already extended. If Su Yedon really wanted to kill, if Su Yu really wanted to kill her, she would slap him a few times. However, Su Yu sat back down on the sofa. Then, he hugged Wei Wei Bai and stared at her blankly. After an unknown amount of time, the tears in his eyes began to fall again. Why do I feel that you are so similar to him? Wei Wei Bai, is it because I'm similar to Ojinma? Well, Ojinma had been in this cat for so long. This cat must have touched Ojinma's temperament. Su Yu gently stroked her cat face as she cried. I'm in so much pain. Wei Wei Bai shuddered. If a teenage girl said such a scary and pretentious line, it wouldn't be so scary. A man talking about such a disgusting cat. Su Yu cried as he stroked her face. Why did you come here? I'll worry. I'll send you back later. It'll be like sending away my love. Wei Wei Bai, she wanted to vomit. Don't stop her. You're a male animal with hairy legs. Can't you be more manly? Wei Wei Bai's cat face was cold. Su Yu hugged her and cried for half the night. In the end, he really carried her to the car and drove her to her house. Su Yu put her down at the door. Climb in through the window. After saying that, he stood at the door quietly. His expression was complicated. No one knew what he was thinking. Wei Wei Bai shuddered. She wondered if he was so conflicted because he couldn't get what he wanted and wanted to kill her. In the end, although Su Yu struggled, he resolutely turned around and left. Wei Wei Bai finally heaved a sigh of relief. It was great that nothing like silencing them had happened. Wei Wei Bai climbed through the window and returned to her house. Seeing that her body was sleeping peacefully, she jumped onto the bed. Then, it lay down beside him with its belly facing up and its 4 limbs stretched out like a human. Then, she bit the blanket with her teeth and covered her belly. She smiled easily. My side mission is finally completed. The system said, this little secret is too cunning. Most people wouldn't have thought of it. Just repeat the little secret, and I'll complete the side mission. Wei Wei Bai, Su Yu likes Ojima. The system said, the mission icon is lit up. Half lit up? Wei Wei Bai, what do you mean by half? The system said, that means your answer is correct, but there's still a second half to this little secret. Wei Wei Bai, Su Yahuan is gay. This secret should be complete. The system replied, no. Wei Wei Bai said, he's a pervert. The system said, even though I have a crush on Ojinma, it's not to the point of being a pervert. Even the perverted big face cat was cooked by him. Wei Wei Bai was going crazy. How can a man have so many little secrets? Are there upper, middle, and lower secrets? The system said perfunctorily, good luck, I have high hopes for you. Wei Wei Bai looked haggard. What other secrets could he have? What secret could be more explosive than liking Ojima? No matter what, when she woke up again, she heard the sound of someone moving around in the room. She was alarmed. Soo-Ye-Hwan? He finally couldn't take it anymore and wanted to get rid of this perfect love rival of his. However, just as she shouted the name, a cold and tense atmosphere appeared in the air. Wei opened her eyes and saw Ojima standing by the bed. His eyes were half closed, and there was a dark glow in his eyes. His expression was indifferent. Soo-Ye-Hwan. Transmigration system. Adonis, come here. /crossover system. Adonis, come here and read the full article at https://www. Sashu. Download Transmigration system. Adonis, come here and read this on your phone. https://m. Sashu. Button. Chapter 12:37. He gritted his teeth and spat out the name softly. Wei Bai. This is a melodramatic misunderstanding. Ojima reached out and grabbed a strand of her black hair that was scattered on the pillow. His voice was low and dangerous. Why? Did you dream of Soo-Ye-Hwan? Wei Bai. I dreamt that he likes you. To snatch you over, I strangled him to death. Ojima's fingers paused. His jealous and gloomy expression froze for a moment. Wei Bai reached out and tapped her cheek. Give me a morning kiss, my superstar. Ojima forgot about the topic of Soo-Ye-Hwan in an instant. He stared at her pink cheeks for a while before lowering his head and kissing her. He didn't dare to kiss too much, for fear that he wouldn't be able to control the desire in his body. Ojima came to deliver breakfast to Wei Bai and watch her finish eating. Then, he picked up her guitar and cat. Let's go. We're going to participate in the competition. At least 80% of the audience in the third round were here for Ojima and Wei Bai. As for the remaining 20%, they were hired by the TV station to cry. Wei Bai was the last to appear. It was only her turn after the other contestants had finished singing. Ojima was wearing a pink-blue jacket, a light-colored t-shirt, and black trousers. Such a casual outfit gave him a leisurely and childish aura. He had no intention of reinstalling his angelic persona. There wasn't a trace of a smile on his delicate and fair face. His coldness revealed a careless seduction. When he looked at people, his amber eyes lacked warmth and were so sharp that people didn't dare to look at him directly. The contestants were especially afraid of this angelic judge, because he didn't just kill people's hearts. After that, he would whip the corpse. After that, he would grind the corpse into ashes. How did you enter the third round with such poor songwriting skills? Did you get in through the back door? Contestant. Fuck. Can you not say the truth? Getting in through the back door is also a skill. You look so shabby. Let me give you a piece of advice. Go behind the scenes and become a composer. It's much more impressive. Otherwise, the songs that are barely passable will make you sound like a beggar on the streets when you sing. Contestant. I'm very happy that my songwriting talent has been acknowledged. Of course, there are also good songs. Ojima's expression was gloomy, but his comments were fair. He was very serious about music, but everyone could see that he was very impatient, no matter how professional the comments were. He couldn't hide the fact that he couldn't wait to fast forward. If it wasn't for the live broadcast, Ojima would have skipped to the end to watch Wei Bai. Finally, it was Wei Bai's turn. Actually, she didn't feel much about this singing competition anymore. If it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't afford to waste the 50 days of her life points, she wouldn't have been able to do so. She even wanted to withdraw from the competition. After all, Dr. Su's little secret was more attractive to her. Wei Bai went on stage without a guitar. She simply stood in the center of the stage. However, there was no feeling of emptiness. Her expression was indifferent, and her eyes were clear. She casually placed her hand on the microphone. The stand of the microphone was slightly tilted. Her movements were not restrained at all. It was as if she was born to be an angel on stage. No one could control the rhythm of the entire stage better than her. The flow of the song became louder. It was no longer a simple and elegant tune. Instead, it was a dazzling performance that was beyond anyone's imagination. The audience was shocked and couldn't take their eyes off her. Ojinma leaned against the back of the judge's chair. He tilted his head and looked at her with a doting smile. He had taught her some of the moves, but she had learned them so easily. In fact, she was much better than he had imagined. Crossover system, Adonis, come over here, comma. Chapter 1238. She was like a natural-born superstar. Even if it was just a simple movement, she could capture everyone's attention. This industry required too much talent. Talented people were like kissed by God. They were naturally full of brilliance. Her song went from flashy to plain, and all the tones were melodious. After going through waves and waves, it returned to plain, but it was still gorgeous. After the last note, she slowly raised her eyes and looked at the audience, including Ojinma. She did not say anything. The audience was also immersed in the atmosphere she created. The audience was silent. Weiwei did not move. She just stood there casually. It was quiet for a whole minute. Suddenly, thunderous applause came from the audience, especially those who were wearing pink and blue jackets. They all stood up. Sister Wei, we are your support group. Weiwei Bai's Weibo background was pink and blue, so the fans' jackets were all pink and blue. Weiwei Bai smiled, took a few steps back, and bowed to thank them. Then, she stood up straight and looked at the judges. The other judges looked at Ojinma obediently. Ojinma's smile did not disappear. His eyes were full of smiles, and he could not suppress it. Then he stood up. On the back of his pink and blue jacket was the slogan of the support group. Sister Wei, we will never leave each other. Ojinma pulled at his loose sleeves. His white t-shirt collar exposed half of his sexy collarbone. The little angel of the past had now become a real man. Every action revealed a strong metaphor of seduction. He pulled over the microphone, his eyes never leaving Weiwei Bai, who was on the stage. Hello, Sister Wei. I am your fan. Little Emo. The rest of the judges' faces were ashen. Did they have to watch a mushy romance drama to participate in a singing competition? There was dog food everywhere, but it was immoral to force it. Weiwei Bai sighed to the system. Suyedan disgusted me enough. Now it's Ojinma's turn. The system said, it's okay. You are more disgusting than them. It's not a loss to disgust them back. Although the theory was right, but he felt that something was wrong. Ojinma's eyes were full of smiles. He pursed his thin lips and suddenly looked pitiful. Seeing that I encourage you on Weibo every day, help you beat away your anti-fans, and even hum your songs every day. Can you sing a song with me? He was now a loyal fan of Weiwei Bai. The audience, including the film crew, fell silent for a moment. Everyone was staring at Weiwei Bai on the stage. This was because Weiwei Bai had once refused to sing with them. She wouldn't reject him again, right? Weiwei Bai didn't seem to feel any pressure. She reached for the microphone stand and said softly, okay. Everyone was silent for a second. Suddenly, cheers, and applause sounded at the same time. Everyone stood up and shouted, Mo, Sister Wei, we love you. The director was moved to tears. His viewership ratings were going to break records again. He was really embarrassed to face his peers. Ha 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 ha. Ojinma took the microphone and walked onto the stage. He took one step at a time, solemn and serious. It was as if there was a galaxy in the middle, shining brightly. Ojinma's voice was no longer mysterious and cold. Instead, it was full of emotions. You're my little cherry baby. Weiwei Bai continued softly. You're my little sparrow. The system covered its ears. Fuck, what kind of lyrics are these? Such childish and idiotic lyrics. Can't you change them to be more mature? If they were more mature, there wouldn't be the awkwardness of love. Slash. Chapter 1239. The song was childish and cute. The melody was soft and sweet, so sweet that it was nauseating. At the end of the song, Ojinma finally walked in front of her. They looked at each other in silence. Ojinma lowered his eyes, his voice a little hoarse. I've done many terrible things to you. Can you forgive me? Weiwei Bai looked at him lightly, then turned and walked off the stage. I don't forgive you, Before Ojin Ma could show a disappointed expression, she turned back. Because I want you to pay me back for a lifetime. Ojin Ma stood there quietly for a while, then threw away the microphone and rushed up to hold her hand. Yes, I'll pay you back. I won't be able to pay you back for a lifetime. Ding, the male lead's affection is at 96. Wang Daowan's videos increased again. Doujinshi comics became popular again, and the classic video of the two of them singing together was shared everywhere. Su Yehua held his head in pain as he watched the video on the computer. He didn't even dare to watch the live broadcast of the good song. But why was he connected to the internet? There were news of them everywhere. He had tried his best to suppress himself. When he saw Ojin Ma wearing a fan jacket and running up the stage to sing with Wei Wei Bai, he finally couldn't stand it anymore and stood up, knocking over the chair. He watched coldly as they held hands and walked off the stage. Happy, sweet, perfect. No evaluation could describe them. They were a match made in heaven. She couldn't find such a good couple anymore. When the two of them stood together, it was a beautiful picture, and humans liked beautiful things. Wei Wei Bai and Ojin Ma had become the love religion of many people, but it had become his nightmare. Whether it was Ojin Ma or Wei Wei Bai, these two people were his nightmare. Su Yehua turned and walked to his room. He opened the door and opened the closet. There was a secret door in the closet, and when he opened it, it was a dark basement corridor. This house had a basement in the past, and it was very big. He walked down. The basement was very well decorated, even more comfortable and luxurious than the upstairs. He turned on the lights, and the photos in the basement were revealed. It was a photo of Ojin Ma, on stage, in magazines, and in news clips. There were all kinds of them. Su Yedon was not moved at all when he saw these photos. He stood in front of the largest photo and looked at it for a while. Then, he reached out and tore off the best photo of Ojin Ma. Another photo was revealed behind the photo. The calmness in Su Yedon's eyes disappeared, and a few strands of twisted struggle appeared. Then he slowly kissed the well-hidden photo. When he kissed her, he finally confirmed his feelings. Wei Wei Bai shuddered, feeling gloomy. Ojin Ma had just left, so she was going to bed after taking a shower. Big-faced cat obediently curled up and slept. She planned to turn into a cat again when she went asleep to search for the second half of Su Yeding's little secret. If he didn't find her, her favorability would be full. Ojin Ma showed off his love to the point that he was on steroids. He didn't even need to do anything to get her favorable impression points. They were already increasing crazily. The doorbell rang. The system said, "Su Yedon is here." Wei Wei Bai sat up immediately. "My little secret is here." The system was speechless. "Shouldn't you be asking if he's plotting something?" The system said he brought knockout drugs. All the bodyguards were knocked out. Wei Wei Bai sneered, "So he's here to pick a fight. I can steal his man. Why would I be afraid of his knockout drugs?" It was too easy for a doctor to bring lethal drugs. Chapter 1240. You can search Transmigration System. Adonis, come to Sashu. Come on Baidu to find the S. So Su Yedwan had chosen to drug her, which meant that he did not want her life at all. Wei Wei Bai could even guess Su Yedwan's motive. He must have finally suppressed more than just his feelings. He wanted to kidnap her and use her to threaten Ojin Ma. Wei Wei Bai pondered over Su Yedwan's intentions and immediately got up to open the door. Anyway, she had to cooperate with Su Yedwan and squeeze his secret out of him. Opening the door, it was indeed Su Yedwan. He was wearing a thin black trench coat and a mask. Because his back was facing the corridor, he avoided all the blind spots. So he pulled down his mask. His face was a little pale, and the darkness in his eyes was unusually deep. "Wei Wei, I'm sorry to disturb you so late at night." He was courteous and elegant. As Wei Wei Bai was in a hurry, she did not wear shoes, and her beautiful ankles were exposed. Her pink toes were cute. Su Yehwan lowered her head to take a look, then quietly moved her eyes away. She had an anxious expression. "Dr. Su, why are you looking for me so late at night?" Su Yedwan sighed. "I just want to ask you one more time. Do you really not like me?" Wei Wei Bai seemed to be at a loss. She nervously crossed her arms and placed them on her abdomen. "I'm sorry. We're really not suitable for each other. The person I like is Ojima. Su Yedwan looked at her deeply and suppressed his voice. I know that you two really love each other. Wei Weibai revealed a happy smile. I've never felt such beautiful feelings from a person. It's my fortune to be able to meet him. I can't torture you to death. Hurry up and tell me your little secret. As expected, Su Yedwan's face turned even paler. He was on the verge of collapsing. Finally, he could not help but say, Do you know? Actually, I got close to you in the beginning because of Ojima. Wei Weibai looked a little confused, as if she did not know what he was talking about. Do you know Ojima? Su Yetian smiled gently. I don't know him. To be exact, I'm a fan of his, and a very fanatical one at that. He doesn't even know who I am. Wei Weibai showed a look of understanding. What a coincidence, I'm also a fan of his. I came to this city because of him. Su Yedan's expression did not change. He already knew that Wei Weibai was Ojima's fan. They were all his fans. However, their fates were completely different. Su Yehua's smile turned cold. His fans didn't treat you well in the past. Wei Weibai said, It's okay. Beating is a sign of affection. Scolding is a sign of love. Su Yedan was speechless. Wei Weibai grinned. Hurry up and reveal your true colors of jealousy. Activate your villain mode. She even revealed the secret of falling in love with Ojima. How perverted could he be? Every time he didn't complete a side quest, there would be all kinds of weird punishments. Punishments? Wei Weibai suddenly exploded. Wait, Tongzi, what's the punishment for this side quest? When she heard about the side quest, she was so busy completing the side quest that she didn't even think about it. What was the punishment for the side quest? The system was silent for a while before silently flipping through the side quest punishment column. Then, it trembled and read aloud with a bitter face. Because it's the new year in the system world. Wei Weibai was confused. So, the system said, It's the new year. Everyone is happy. Wei Weibai said so. The system said, There's no punishment. It's okay if you don't complete the side quest. If you complete it, you'll get a small red packet. You see, the system world is pretty good. Download the at https://m Sashu. Comsay button at the bottom to record this chapter. You'll be able to see it next time when you open the bookshelf, if you like. Chapter 1241. Bai Weiwei spat out a mouthful of old blood. Without punishment, she would have to complete a side mission. What was a red packet? Was it as big as Yi Yuxuan's loving gaze? It was as stingy as the system realm. It probably only gave her 3 days' worth of life points to send her away. Wei Weibai looked up at Su Yedwan and took a step back. Doctor, it's late. I'm going to rest. She slammed the door after she finished speaking. However, the door was blocked by a shoe, leaving a small gap. Behind the door, Su Yehuan's delicate and pretty face that had turned deathly pale appeared. Wei Wei, I'm sorry. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I used all my strength to put down Ojima. Wei Weibai immediately said, I don't know what you're talking about. Su Yedwan's voice contained traces of a painful smile. Yes, you don't know anything. But I have to say that I put him down, but I don't have the strength to put you down anymore. Wei Weibai was speechless. Wait, what did you say? Su Yedwan was a man after all. He was much stronger than Wei Weibai. He pushed the door open and grabbed Wei Weibai's arm. He covered her mouth and nose with a handkerchief that was stained with drugs. Wei Weibai struggled and said to the system, Wait, what did he mean? The system said, It's like this. He was bent in the beginning. Wei Weibai was speechless. The system said, Then you turned him straight. Wei Weibai was speechless. Su Yedwan hugged her and stood there for a while. He then put on his mask and carried her out. Her body was soft and light. Dr. Su, who was carrying a woman for the first time, started to blush. Ojima's new album was released. It went on sale just after midnight. He looked at the sales figures casually. When his album was released, there would be a rush to buy it. He was used to this. The number of albums increased rapidly, faster than any other album. There were 2 names on the cover of the album. It was his and Wei Weibai's. There were 4 songs in this album, all written by Wei Weibai. The Rest of My Life Has You song and the rest of my life, and you song replaced other songs at the last minute. It was directly placed in the position of the title track. Within an hour, the number of albums sold broke the record of the entire music industry. Although Ojima was used to creating miracles by himself, it was a common occurrence. However, when he saw that the data was so good, he was still excited. After all, this was his and Wei Wei Bai's album. He picked up the phone and wanted to share this joy with Wei Wei Bai. But it occurred to him that she might be asleep. He didn't dare to disturb her and called the bodyguard. She hoped to hear something from the bodyguard. But after 3 calls, none of the 3 bodyguards picked up their phones. Ojima looked at his phone with a gloomy expression. Suddenly, he jumped up and rushed out. When he arrived at Wei Wei Bai's rented apartment, he saw that the bodyguards he sent were all over the floor. The door was open. He walked in. He found that the lights were on and the blanket was lifted. He could even see where she was lying. But Wei Wei Bai was missing. Ojima's heart sank. He even felt that he couldn't breathe. His fingers started to tremble. Something happened. Something happened to her. Su Yedwan lowered her head calmly and was cooking. The food was light. He knew that a singer's voice was very important. Heavy food would ruin the voice. She needed to take good care of it. Chapter 1242. Then, he straightened the plate and walked into the room. He opened the wardrobe and walked to the basement. The lights were on in the basement, and it was very bright. Ojima's photo was casually removed and thrown into a box in a corner, and the photo on the wall turned into Bai Weiwei's. Su Yetwan walked down and saw Wei Wei Bai's photo on the wall. He couldn't help but smile happily. Then he kissed Wei Wei Bai's cheek in the photo. He was careful not to be too disrespectful. The carpet was very thick and the decor was very warm and simple. There was a couch with a round table and chairs with a soft shell. There was a bathroom, a small bookcase, a television, and a player. There were even baskets of fresh flowers hanging on the wall. On the east side of the basement was a soft bed that was more than 2 meters long. There were a few dolls that girls liked on it, and the pillows were fluffy and comfortable. The person sitting on the bed seemed to be a little frightened. Her bare feet were locked with iron chains. The iron chains were wrapped in cloth so that they wouldn't hurt anyone. Su Yewon walked over and put the plate on the table. "It's time to eat, Sister Wei." Sister Wei, Wei Wei Bai looked at Su Yedwan expressionlessly. Su Yedwan didn't look sad at all. He smiled and said, "You eat first. I'm leaving." He knew that she would be nervous if he was here. If she was nervous, eating would be bad for her stomach. As a doctor, he knew very well how to keep her healthy. Wei Wei Bai didn't say anything. She turned her head away as if she didn't want to see him. Su Yedwan stared blankly at her for a while. Then, he suddenly walked over and touched her hair. Wei Wei Bai frowned and immediately said coldly, "What are you doing?" Su Yedwan immediately retracted his hand and was a little embarrassed. He stuttered, "No, nothing." After saying that, he immediately turned and ran away. After closing the wardrobe door, Su Yedwan covered his chest with his hands. So nervous but so happy. Su Yedwan looked at his hands and blushed. He touched her hair. She touched her idol's hair. If it wasn't for the fact that cooking with dirty fingers might bring in germs and make Wei Wei Bai sick, he really wished he could not wash his hands for a year. When Wei Wei Bai saw Su Yedwan leave, she finally reached out her hand to support her forehead. She said, "Tongzi, I feel that my business is still not up to standard." The system asked, "Which part did you fail?" It felt that the host had passed all the tests. Who would use novice equipment to attack the great demon king? There had to be enough. She was the only one who had never failed. The host sighed. Wei Wei Bai was definitely the most awesome and stubborn host it had ever brought along. Wei Wei Bai sighed helplessly. "No, I'm still not abnormal enough." Wei Wei Bai, if I'm abnormal enough, I wouldn't have failed to guess the little secret of that mentally ill Su Yehwan. What do you mean by like Ojima? What homosexuality? They were all terribly wrong. Su Yehwan did not have any romantic feelings for Ojima. It was purely an idol-chasing feeling. Bai Weiwei sighed, "I should be more perverted so that I can sympathize with this perverted world." The system, sympathize with the abnormal world? What the hell was that? Wei Wei Bai, I didn't think that Su Yehuan was purely an idol-chasing girl. This is his little secret. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the side quest. You have found Su Yehuan's little secret. You are rewarded with a red packet for 3 days of life. Moi. /save button at the bottom to record your reading record. Chapter 1243. Wait, bye. Scram. Screw your 3 days of life. Do you think I'm a beggar with this little island of life? Side reward. Because of the host's strong request, the red envelope of 3 days of life has been taken back. Wait, bye system, You see, the system realm is very humane. You say you don't want it, and we take it back. Wei bye clutched her chest. She felt like she was going to die from anger. She picked up her food and ate it fiercely. Then she started to think about how to escape. The side mission was done. She only had a little bit of affinity left. She could go out and be sweet with Ojinma for a few days. And there were still a few months left. There was too much time. The prerequisite was that she could leave this place. This man, Su Yehuan, was one of those terrifying fanatical groupies that only existed in legends. He chased after idols to the point that they became his religion. He was the kind of fan who would give up everything to chase after them. This kind of fan was very rare and very scary. And Su Yehua was the legendary VIP version of the fanatic fan. Chasing after idols did not count. He could not bear to have them taken away. He chased after Ojinma because of his angelic persona, but because Ojinma had never been in love. Su Yehua was patient and had always been a hardcore fan. But when she appeared, Ojinma showed his true colors. He did not want to be an angel and had a bad temper. He showed his sharp side. For Su Yehua, who had always chased after Ojinma's persona, this was the process of losing his fan. Then, accidentally she came. She was as perfect as an angel. Su Yehua transferred his fanaticism for Ojinma to her. In the end, he could not bear to see her dating Ojinma. So he tied her up. After tying her up, he put her on a pedestal and served her. She did not fight back, did not talk back, did not complain, did not dare to touch her. Even if he did, he would carefully touch her hair or her sleeves. He was so excited that his face turned red, and his requirements were very low. Don't date, okay? Angels don't need to date. If the favorability level was not full yet. She was about to nod and agree. Su Yehuan, who did not get any response, was not angry. She continued to humbly serve her. Wei Bai thought that she was indeed not perverted enough. That was why he couldn't fit in with the perverted Su Yedon. Wei Bai worriedly stuffed a prawn into her mouth. She wondered if Ojinma would have guessed that she had been caught by Su Yehuan. After all, Su Yetian had hidden himself so deeply that most people wouldn't be able to guess just how monstrous he was. Su Yehua followed the rules and went to work for the surgery. After finishing his work, he was eager to return home. There were papers and pens on his desk. He even bought a new guitar and placed it beside the bed. If Wei Bai wanted to write a song, she could use it. When he thought of her obediently writing songs, he felt exceptionally happy. After returning to the house, he thought that Wei Bai didn't know if she wanted to eat supper, so he immediately rolled up his sleeves to make supper. The supper didn't need to be big, but it had to be delicate and easy to digest. Otherwise, it would be difficult for her to fall asleep if she ate too much. Su Yehua was halfway through cooking when the doorbell rang. He looked up, and a trace of vigilance flashed across his eyes. Then he went to open the door. It was actually the police. The police said, "It's like this. Do you know Wei Bai?" Su Yehua said gently, "Yes, I used to be her doctor." The police said, "Did you know that she went missing?" Su Yehua was shocked. "I don't know. How'd she go missing?" Chapter 1244. The police looked at him from head to toe and saw that his sleeves were rolled up and there were food residue on his fingers. "When was the last time you saw her?" Su Yehuan answered obediently. There were no loopholes. The police left after asking him the usual questions. Su Yehuan heaved a sigh of relief. After the police finished their questioning, they walked to the alley and turned the corner to the main road. A car appeared, and a man with a cigarette in his hand leaned against the car door. His delicate and fair face had a dark and depressed expression in the smoke. He looked at the police coldly. "Did you see anything wrong?" The police shook his head. "What's wrong? It's so late, and he's making supper." Eugene Moss suppressed the madness in his eyes. He forced himself to think calmly. "What's supper?" The experienced police told him about the traces he had observed. From the residue on Su Yehuan's fingers, he guessed that there were two kinds of food. Eugene Moss looked at the alley coldly. His eyes were unreadable. He seemed to be relatively calm, but the hand holding the cigarette was trembling. If he knew who took Weiwei Bai away, he would cut that person into pieces. Weiwei Bai ate and slept well. Su Yehuan was too decent. When she gave him an autograph, he was so emotional that he almost cried. He took it and framed it. Weiwei Bai's face was cold. Now that the side mission was completed, she was ready to escape. She observed her surroundings. Yes, the basement was impenetrable. Yes, the door lock was made of titanium alloy, and the door was 5 centimeters thick. Was this like a bank vault? Yes, there were no communication devices. Don't underestimate a doctor. A doctor who could reach Su Yehuan's position was meticulous and logical. He thought about all aspects more than anyone else. She thought deeply for a while before saying to the system, "Do you think Su Yehuan will let me go if I seduce him?" The system thought deeply for a while. Su Yehuan's feelings for you are like a crazy fan. He worships you as an angel. Your status is not the same, so he doesn't have that kind of desire. Su Yehuan carefully touched Weiwei Bai. It was just because he had met his idol. He was secretly happy that he did not wash his hands for a year. If Weiwei Bai really seduced him. If you seduce him, he won't think that your idol image has collapsed and cry to silence you. Weiwei Bai, it was possible. She had to be careful in this perverted world. "What's Ojima doing now?" The system replied, "He's been looking for you like crazy. He's so famous now that he's suspicious of a lot of interest groups, including Su Yetung." Bai Weiwei touched her chin. "Where's my cat?" "I owe you." Meanwhile, Su Yehuan had also opened the door and silently appeared. Seeing that she had fallen asleep, he pulled the blanket over her tightly. Weiwei Bai's sleeping face was cute and soft. Her face was slightly red. She looked like a pure angel. Angels were not allowed to fall in love. Su Yehuan's plan was to wait until Ojinma knew that he could not find her and give up on their relationship. He would let her go out and continue singing. Then he would be her fan for life. Su Yehuan smiled happily. Then she reached out and gently stroked Weiwei Bai's hair. Download the at https://m/sashu.com// to make it easier for you to read it next time. You can click save at the bottom to record this chapter. You can see it the next time you open your bookshelf, if you like. Chapter 1245. After touching it, he immediately retracted his hand and turned to leave. Touching his idol's hair, he really wanted to show it off. System, pervert. Weiwei Bai spread her 4 short legs and ran on the road in the middle of the night. The big-faced cat was dirty all over. Its face looked even more haggard, and its fur was dirty. It was already ugly enough, but now it was even uglier. It probably ran to ask for food from passers-by, and if it failed to act cute, it would probably be kicked away. Where did this ugly cat come from? Scram, scram, scram. This was how Weiwei Bai felt when her own big-faced cat went through the trash. Ojinma was still in her rented apartment, and she heard that he was in a bad mood. She had to find him quickly so that he could save her. Weiwei Bai saw her apartment. The door was closed, but the lights were on. She snuck in through the window. She saw Ojinma's back facing her. He sat on the chair and touched her pillow. His hair was a little messy, and his delicate and handsome face had a hint of gloominess. There were a few phones beside him, as if he was waiting for news. Suddenly, he looked up and saw the big-faced cat squatting by the window. Ojinma's eyes flashed with surprise, but it was replaced by disappointment. He was not even in the mood to care about this ugly cat. Without Weiwei Bai, what was the use of this ugly cat? Weiwei Bai said to the system, "Fairy tales are all lies." System? Weiwei Bai, what happened to true love? Even if you turned into a pig, the male lead would still be able to see it? The system said, read less of those unrealistic things. Wei Wei Bai jumped down from the window and pulled out a piece of paper from the ground. Then she pulled the pen and pulled. It was so fun. Why couldn't she hold the pen? Wei Wei Bai's cat face was embarrassed. She shook her head left and right anxiously. Where did the ink go? Before she finished shaking, she was lifted by the neck. Oh, Jinma stared at her blankly, as if he was examining something. Wei Wei Bai looked at him with round eyes, as if she wanted to tell him something. Suddenly, Oh Jinma whispered, Are you Wei Wei? Wei Wei Bai, no, how could he tell? The system said, So this is true love. Wei Wei Bai, is this true love? This is a cheat, right? Oh Jinma looked at her teary eyes. Her ugly face, he didn't know why it looked so cute. If you are blink, Wei Wei Bai could not help but blink. Actually, it was not his words, but her instinct. Oh Jinma froze and looked at her in disbelief. He seemed to have thought of something. He hurriedly opened the cabinet and took out the ink bottle. He opened the ink bottle and said to Wei Wei Bai, If you are Wei Wei, then write down what is 1 + 1. Wei Wei Bai, did Oh Jinma think that after she turned into a cat, her IQ would be on par with that of a cat? She looked at him with disdain. She dipped her claws in the ink and wrote, Su Ye. The words looked like scribbles, but it was barely visible. Oh Jinma's eyes turned cold. Su Ye. Bai Wei Wei laboriously wrote, Basement. Oh Jinma repeated, Su Ye kidnapped you and locked you in the basement? He stared at her blankly. Wei Wei Bai wrote again, I am a cat demon, not Wei Wei. Wei Wei Bai wrote too many words. In the end, it was all a mess. Oh Jinma looked at her deeply. After a few seconds, he heaved a sigh of relief and said, Yes, you are a cat demon. He had turned into a cat before. Of course, he knew that she didn't want him to find out how she felt. Say button at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 1246. Because she was too cowardly. Oh Jinma reached out and pulled her into his arms. Then, he reached out and caressed her gently. He had a gentle expression on his face. It's okay now. Don't be afraid. Then, he made a call and asked them to keep an eye on Su Yedwan. He was going to break down the door to capture Su Yedwan and then rescue Wei Wei Bai from the basement. After doing all this, he saw the haggard big-faced cat. Her ugly face immediately became cute and beautiful in his eyes. She became the most beautiful cat in the world. Oh Jinma said, I'll give you a bath, and then I'll give you some dried fish to eat. Wei Wei Bai's face was cold, and she didn't say anything. Oh Jinma smiled. He knew that it was her first time turning into a cat, so she might not be used to it. He carried the soft-haired woman into the bathroom. Then, he soaped her up and used warm water to wash her hair. The big-faced cat had been wandering around for the past few days. He was afraid that she would starve. Wei Wei Bai was in a daze as he rubbed her with a smile. After washing her clean, Oh Jinma dried her fur. He saw that there was still some fear in her eyes, as if she didn't know why she had turned into a cat. Her cat face was drooping and listless. Her eyes were narrowed, and the corners of her mouth were drooping. Oh Jinma's heart felt like it was being squeezed. He took out a packet of dried fish and fed it to her. Wei Wei Bai was very stubborn. No matter how hungry she was, she wouldn't eat it. She slapped the dried fish away from his hand. Her round cat face was full of disdain. She used her cat claws to push away the dried fish beside her feet. She wouldn't eat it even if she was beaten to death. Anyway, she wasn't hungry when she woke up. Wait until she returned to her body. The big-faced cat would eat it if she wanted to. She wasn't as spineless as Oh Jinma, who ate the dried fish as soon as she saw it. Oh Jinma's heart raced. He felt that the big-faced cat had become super cute. She was the cutest in the world. He wanted to hug her and rub her, kiss her. Just as he thought about it, he did it. He hugged her and smiled like a fool. Eat more, you're not hungry. You're a cat now, so you can't eat human food. It'll be very uncomfortable if you have a stomachache. Wei Wei Bai's ears were flattened by him. Oh Jinma leaned over and kissed her on the cheek. Wei Wei Bai, damn pervert. She was on the same level as Su Yekuan. His phone suddenly rang. Oh Jinma quickly answered the call. He hugged Wei Wei by tightly with one hand. He fled? Ojima immediately stood up with the cat in his arms and rushed out. Follow him, but don't get too close. Wei Wei is still in the car. Su Yedan fled, taking Bai Wei Wei with her. And Wei Wei Bai had turned into a cat, which meant that Wei Wei was asleep. He had experience in turning into a cat, so he knew that if the body woke up, the soul in the cat would return to the body. Generally speaking, when Su Yai carried Bai Wei Wei around, she should wake up on her own. So Bai Wei Wei must have been drugged with sleeping pills or drugged with drugs. Ojima got into the car and immediately stepped on the accelerator. Wei Wei Bai squatted between his legs, looking like a cat that had no love left. The system said, Su Yahuan is very vigilant, so she drugged you, put you in the car, and fled. Wei Wei Bai said, I don't understand why someone would chase after a celebrity to such an extent. Not only did they kidnap her, they even worshipped her with 3 sticks of incense after getting her autograph. This was something that she saw occasionally. Su Yahuan bowed piously to her signature. This had a huge impact on her worldview, although she did not have much worldview. But this did not stop her from eating whales. // to make it easier for you to read it next time, you can click save at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 1247. The system said, love to the extreme, it's crazy. Ojima followed his own car. A group of well-trained bodyguards surrounded Su Yeding's car. Wei Wei Bai watched from the front window, thinking that Su Yeding would be forced to stop. Ojima's car followed in the middle. He was not in a hurry, but his eyelashes were trembling and his eyes were as cold as ice. There was no trace of his usual good mood. He calmly watched as Su Yeding's car was surrounded. He immediately ordered, force him to stop. Su Yeding had no way of escaping, so he mobilized more than 20 cars. Even if the police had to be alerted, he had to catch Su Yeding. Then he would beat him up until he could not take care of himself. The 3 cars in front approached Su Yeding at the same time. The scene was extremely thrilling. Wei Wei Bai watched without any emotion. Ojima glanced at her. He saw her obediently lying in front of the car window, soft and round. Her ears were even trembling, as if she was frightened by the cars. Ojima thought, how could she be so cute? Ding, the male lead's favorability has increased to 97. A question mark appeared above by Wei Wei's head. How did the favorability increase? The system said, it's to act cute. Wei Wei Bai thought, this cat is so ugly that it makes people hate it. How is it cute? Suddenly, there was a loud crash in front of them. Ojima's eyes narrowed as he saw Su Yeding's car crash into the railing. Outside the railing was a relatively short and steep sea cliff. Stop him! Ojima shouted, but it was too late. Su Yeding's car crashed into the cliff and fell into the water. All the cars stepped on the brakes. Ojima pulled open the car door, carried Wei Wei Bai, and rushed to the broken railing. The assistant and bodyguards rushed up at the same time, called someone to send a car to salvage it. Ojima's eyes turned red, and he kicked the railing. Wei Wei fell into the sea. The car had fallen into the pit in one piece. The airtight compartment of the car allowed the people inside to hold on for a while. But soon, the car began to sink into the water. Wei Wei would suffocate to death. He picked up Wei Wei Bai and looked into her cat eyes. He said seriously and gently, Xiaohua, I'm going to save you. You stay here, okay? Florit. It was her childhood nickname. Wei Wei Bai was shocked by this tacky name. Then she meowed. There was no need for her to go down. She would be saved as soon as her favorability rose to 100. It was almost impossible to save someone in this situation. Ojima was just a singer. His body was built from training in the gym. Was he looking for death by getting off the car? It meowed softly as if it was encouraging him. Ojima placed Wei Wei Bai in his assistant's hands. Remember, she is your ancestor. Serve her well. If anything happens to me, all my assets will be hers. The assistant was dumbfounded. Huh? What the hell? Ojima had no time to waste. He threw his jacket away and grabbed a metal pipe that had spilled out from the railing. He plunged headfirst into the water. The sea cliff was very low, but the waves were turbulent. They could almost see the spot where the car had fallen into the water. Ojima jumped down without hesitation. When the assistant came back to his senses, his legs gave way and he knelt on the ground. Quick, save him. Save him. The right thing to do was to save Ojima. If Weiwei Bai died, the company could bear the loss. But if Ojima were to die, then Sanchin Company would close down immediately. Crossover system, Adonis, come here. /crossover system, Adonis, come here. / crossover system, Adonis, come here. Download crossover system, Adonis, come here. Mobile crossover system, Adonis, come here. Chapter 1248. The assistant was probably dead. The professional bodyguards did not want to go into the water. After all, they might not be able to save the person. However, if Ojima jumped in, the situation would be different. If Ojima died, they would not be able to withstand Sanching's revenge. The bodyguards who knew how to swim also jumped in to search for the person, mainly looking for Ojima. Weiwei Bai and the assistant sat on the ground in a daze, looking at the dark sea. The notification of the favorability rating came. Ding! The male lead's favorability rating is at 99. Ojima was not dead yet. According to Weiwei Bai's experience, if he really failed to save the person, he would be on the verge of death. The favorability rating would go up to 100. Therefore, as long as she did not do anything, she could basically complete the mission. The system said, he is very dangerous. This part of the sea is full of submerged reefs. It would be hard for people to come back up. This was also the reason why the professional bodyguards did not want to jump in to save Ojima before he went in. It was almost impossible to save him. They might even lose their lives. Weiwei Bai frowned. Is there anything that can let Ojima come up safely? As for me, even if my body is dead, can I continue as long as I am in the cat? The system said, yes, you can continue, but as a cat, it would be hard for you to reach 100. Weiwei Bai said, as long as I'm not a bacterium, I can succeed no matter what I become. The contempt of the conqueror. The system coughed. There is something on sale that can save Ojima's life. Weiwei Bai said, what is it? The system cleared its throat. See God's prayer. The see God's prayer that guarantees that you will be safe even if you are thrown into the Mariana Trench. It is now on sale, not 999, only 99 HP. Hurry up and call the hotline 7474744174 to bring it home. Bring it home. Weiwei Bai said, I've been wanting to ask you this for a long time. Do you get paid every time you do this kind of advertisement? The system said, you'll get a participation award, a Ruji ammo, and a pack of durian-flavored instant noodles if you're lucky. Weiwei Bai covered its round face with its paws. Why was her family so poor? Buy it. Let them live. Weiwei Bai heard her own voice. Surprisingly, she didn't feel any heartache over her 99 HP. He clearly knew that even if he gave up so much HP, the final reward would not even be a third of the current reward. But he still did it. The system bought the prayer of the sea god and threw it into the sea. It accurately hit Ojima. Ojima, who was in the sea, was pulled down by the dark tide. He was not very good at swimming, but he remembered that Weiwei Bai's body was in the car. Even if he didn't know how to swim, he would still jump down. He suddenly opened his eyes and felt an explosive power surge out from his body. He actually saw the car. Weiwei. He immediately swam over. He was so anxious that he didn't even think about when his swimming skills improved. He smashed the car window with the metal pipe in his hand and opened the back door. Su Yedwan was sitting in the driver's seat. He had already fainted. Weiwei Bai was lying in the back seat. Ojima wanted to give Su Yedwan a few more pipes so that he would die a horrible death. But Weiwei Bai was more important. He hugged her. She closed her eyes and quietly lay in his arms. Ojima's heart clenched. He was afraid that she would stop breathing, so he immediately kissed her lips and passed his breath to her. Say a button at the bottom to record this reading. Chapter 1249. Then he held onto her waist and swam upwards. He kissed her as he swam, so that she would not lack oxygen. Ma felt that a person's desire to survive in the face of adversity was really scary. He actually felt that he could swim across the entire Pacific Ocean without panting. What a scary illusion. Wei Bai and the assistant stayed by the side of the road, while the bodyguards swam up from the sea. Because the tide was too big, they could not find him at all. Also, it was dark, and there was no light, so they could not be sure where he was. The assistant hugged by Wei and cried, "How can you die? Mo, go. No matter who dies, you can't die, ah. How can I go out in the future? I will be executed by your fans." Ma's fans were crazy. It was not like he did not know. And Kanxing would not let him off. "Brother Mo, how can you die?" The assistant hugged the cat and cried with all his might. As he cried, he suddenly realized that on the beach below the cliff, there was a slender black figure slowly walking up from the sea. The assistant trembled and his eyes suddenly lit up. He immediately shouted, "Hurry up, where are the lights?" The lights immediately shone down, and the man on the beach looked up. His entire body was wet, and his delicate and handsome face had a sickly and pale look because he had been soaked in the sea. His thin lips had lost some of their red color, but it did not affect the color of his face. He was so beautiful that he looked like a god who had walked out from the sea. Ojima hugged Wei Bai and walked up quickly. After reaching the shore, the tiredness and discomfort came back. Wei Bai lay quietly on his chest, her breathing still there. He was so excited that he did not know what to do. The bodyguards rushed up. The ambulance and traffic police also arrived, and the sound of brakes could be heard. Ojima walked to the road under the protection of the bodyguards. He hugged her and saw the cat beside the assistant. "Wei, I found you," he said softly, revealing a gentle and dazzling smile. Then he fell backward, and the bodyguards immediately protected him. The medical staff rushed over and put them on stretchers. That night was exceptionally chaotic, but the news was tightly sealed. The higher-ups of Sanxing were mobilized to stop the reporters and mediate the situation. Before the matter of Su Yehuan was fully investigated, everyone agreed to keep the news of these two people to themselves. Bai Weiwei was also carried into the ambulance, and then fell asleep in a daze. Ojima did not die, and his affinity with her remained. She sighed in relief. Therefore, she slept soundly. When she woke up, she was in a bright room. It was a ward. Moreover, it was a special ward. A man sat by the bed and stared blankly at the bed. Wei Bai frowned. Why was Ojima sitting there? She was behind him? Why didn't he change back? Wei Bai realized that she had not changed back at all. She thought that she would directly return to her own body when she woke up. She was too shocked and meowed. Ojima immediately turned around and frowned. His eyes were filled with anxiety. He glanced at the cat and then at Wei Bai. Suddenly, he stood up in shock and immediately rushed in front of Wei Bai. He carried her and asked carefully, "Wei." Although Wei Bai did not want to admit it, she still nodded unwillingly and meowed softly. Ojima was silent for a while before saying, "You can't go back, right?" When he turned into a cat, he would always go back when his body woke up. // that you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.